Hey everyone, guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have spaced out radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com, shop there today, and make yourself look good.
Welcome, everyone, to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. Tonight is going to be an awesome show. We have Zaysan Saldausky joining us tonight. He's an experiencer, he's an author, and a lot more. We're going to get into some great stuff with him for hours 1 and 2, and then hour 3. Of course, we're going to have Steve Stockton, Tales Untold, Missing Person Mysteries. Then we'll have someone filling in for Drew Banky with After Hours Wrap Up, none other than UFO Tim James. So it's going to be an awesome show. Can't wait to get into that. Let me go ahead and see who came in first tonight. Who earned the positions, the medal positions tonight? Courtesy of Race Fan, looks like it's a bunch of R's straight up. So it says, hello, Rob. Medal positions for the night are Race Fan with the gold, Richard Minnick with the silver, and then Roger Murray with the bronze. So R's all around tonight. Definitely thank you for coming on in. We appreciate you showing on up. Race Fan says, good evening, Rob. Roger Murray says, happy Valentine's Day, Rob G. I love you. I hope you have no guests tonight. Well, we do. And, that was a one-off thing, Roger Murray, but we do appreciate you coming on in, and we show love all the way back to you as well. Keep going down the list here. We have Kitty Catty Whack. Kitty Catty Whack is here. Hi, Kitty Catty Whack. Thanks for showing on up. Frankie B saying good evening. Thanks for coming on in. Let's see. We have Jordan, Ashley Pettit. Damn, Eagles flew high tonight. Yeah, they did. This was almost predicted by Von Patrick, and Von is with us tonight. Miss Catherine Jones. Evening, Mr. Roger and SOR fans. Hey, Miss Catherine, thanks for coming on in. Appreciate you showing up tonight. Who else do we have here? We have Lars Jansen. Lars Jansen is in the building. Hi, Lars Jansen, saying good morning all. Good morning, Lars Jansen. And we have Tim James saying, evening, everybody. Horns and alien head emojis. Thanks for coming on in, Tim James. Tamoth Man. Hey, Tamoth Man. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate you coming in. Kurt M. Hey, Kurt M. Getting down the list here, we have Super Crazy Movie Game. We want retribution. Exactly. That's what we want to do. Operation Shutdown as well. Hey, thanks for coming in. And new name, Big Logic. Hey, Big Logic. Appreciate showing on up tonight. We're going to have an awesome show. Dean P, good evening. Hey, Dean P, thanks for coming on in. Hillbilly Herb, hey. Mr. Melted, thanks for coming on in. And carrying in the Woo Train. Hey, carrying the Woo Train. Mark Eddy. Hey, Mark Eddy. Appreciate showing up. Blue Moon. Hello, Blue Moon. And we're going to go ahead and get the podcast started. Can't get to everybody, Magneticus. Coming in almost late. Thanks for coming in, though. Appreciate you. And here we go. Let me see. Let me get this started. 1 second here. All right, everyone. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. We're going to have an awesome show tonight. We have Zaysan Saldausky, who's an experiencer and author, so much more for Hours 1 and 2. Then we have Steve Stockton, tells Untold Missing Person Mysteries, and then Tim James filling in for Drew Benke with the After Hours wrap-up. Let's hit the radio. Let's go. Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You've just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I am your host, Mr. Rob G, and tonight we'll be broadcasting on our terrestrial affiliates across North America, plus digitally on digital platforms all around the world. Don't forget, you can access our archives for absolutely free. YouTube.com/@SpacedOutRadio. And while you're there, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to follow us on X and Instagram @SpacedOutRadio and @SpacedOutRadio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the SWR Newswire. You can get yourself some official Spaced Out swag. Plus, you can rock out to the man that you hear right there, Ron Bumblefoot Dahl, and oh, so much more. We're going to have a fantastic show tonight. We have Zaysan Saldausky, author, experiencer, coming in for Hours 1 and 2. We have Steve Stockton, Tales Untold Missing Person Mysteries for Hour 3. And then UFO Tim James filling in for Drew Benke with the After Hours wrap-up. It's going to be an awesome jam-packed show as we get up on this, out of this on this Sunday here. It's going to be fantastic, guys. So we're not going to waste any time. We're going to go ahead and get ready to bring our guest right on in so we could join the conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, Zaysan Saldausky goes by the name Z. Hello, Z. How you doing tonight?
Absolutely perfect. Hey, that's a great intro video you have on your show.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. It gets us going, and everyone gets in the mood to hear this conversation that we're about to have. So thank you. Getting to know you, though, you know, we've been back and forth on social media for a while. We finally got you booked and brought you in. You know, I understand you're an author. You've written Plagiarian Diaries. Plagiarian, okay. And then you have experiences of your own that we're going to talk about tonight. What I wanted to know, and always with any first interview, is kind of what led you to where you're at. Did you have experiences being young? Kind of what brought you into being an author, and then we'll get into the bigger experiences a little bit later.
I don't think anybody's ever called me an author. I just write my diaries. I did write a book about early part of my life, but you know, I was kind of always a black sheep, and I never really fit. I think that was like kind of what guided me into the position I am today. But I used to race motorcycles from the time I was 6 years old. I was in karate and then kung fu, and I actually was able to go to China, to Henan, and study at the Shaolin Temple when I was 14 years old, which is considered old. So to enter into the temple, and I had special permissions and stuff, and it was a closed country, so I had to go in a certain way and such. But there I learned a lot of discipline. And I also learned a lot about how far we can go, you know, and I was never put into the mold of you can only be this and you can only be that. It was sort of like as soon as I got on that path at the temple and meeting the masters and, you know, doing the different things, it was like, you know, I understood that we were capable of so much more than we thought. And then I got into fighting and stuff like that, and won championships and stuff, but it just wasn't complete. It wasn't satisfying to me. And so it was kind of funny. I was down in here in Fort Myers, and I was working on a shrimp boat, and our boat broke, and so I ended up I crashed at one of the parks in town, and I didn't have a place to go or anything. So then I got rousted by some police officers, and it was a different time back then, and this is way back 80s. And so they told me I couldn't be there, and they gave me some reasons. And so I said, well, where can I go? You guys ain't gonna bother me. And they said, oh, go to the bus station. So that's what I did. Went to the bus station. I was hanging out, and went to sleep. And this guy sat down next to me, and he started asking me some questions. And because I was younger and everything, and I kind of fit the mold for what he was looking for. And he asked me if I ever been a soldier, and I said no, and all this. And we had a discussion, about martial arts and stuff. And then he said, what about your family? And so at the time, I was like, I don't know who this guy is, so I'm not telling him nothing on that, And so he said, you want to make good money? He goes, be here at this time, this day and stuff. And so I was, and it looked like it was going to be pretty fun. I didn't know what I was getting into or anything, but we kind of had military gab on stuff. And, I had a big, heavy backpack, and I couldn't figure out why I had such a big backpack. And they had them strapped, around my waist and everything, and legs. And so I'm just naive. I'm just going with the flow. It's like whatever I need, and it's a job, and my boat's broke. Right. So then all of a sudden this red light goes on, and he's telling us, he goes, you got a map in the front here in your pouch. And he goes, when you hit the water, he goes, just make your way through the map and you'll get to camp. And it was like, okay, I'm kind of confused. And, and then I was first in line, of course. And he put my hand on my back. He goes, if your shoe don't open, grab this handle and pull it all the way out.
Wow. We're getting into some good stuff here. Seems like this feed may have frozen here for a moment. Yeah. I don't know, man. Getting pushed out of anything with a parachute. I don't know how I could deal with that. I'm afraid of heights myself, and I can only imagine if I'm free falling and I'm depending on a chute that likely will open, but maybe won't open, and then what happens after that. So as we wait for our guest to come back here, yeah. Sometimes you are silenced. Paramar, maybe is getting right to the juicy stuff, and the feed dropped. Isn't that how it always happens? So we'll go ahead and wait for him to come on in because, like I said, it's just like when you're watching a film and you're getting to the really good part, and then the power goes out or the internet starts buffering, or exactly. Okay, and I think we are back in business here. Got you back.
Got abducted a bit sooner than I thought we would.
I'm saying that's exactly what everybody's saying here. So you got to the point you were in line. You said if the chute doesn't open, pull this lever, and you went out right there.
Yeah, and came down. It was dark. I was kind of freaking out in a way, but then again, it's something natural within me. It was like I don't panic. I work the problem, and so I ended up landing, and I was in about 3 feet of water. It was swamp, and I looked at the map, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but it had direction, and I could see the moon. So I worked my way, and I ended up getting back to camp, and I was like, I think there was like 20 of us that jumped, and 7 of us made it back, and that was the introduction to soldier training. And back then was a soldier of fortune, they called it, but they call it contractors now. It's military contractors. So I got started in that, and I learned a lot from that, and got the nickname of Ice. And so anyways, that went on for a while, and then off and on I do certain contracts and stuff, and then I would do other work and things. And so it was kind of odd. I never really fit anywhere, but I could manage to fit anywhere I wanted. And during that process, we were in South America, I think it was, doing a rescue, and I saw these kids that were obviously being, taken, right, against their will. They were in a truck and stuff, and there was like 2 guys, and I ended up staying behind, which is a whole story. But I convinced the other guys decided to stay because, you're a team. And that was my first exposure to child sex slavery. And so, moving years forward, in 2015, I started a charity, the Quest ECSS, or Ending Child Sex Slavery.org. And since then, we've saved about 3,500 kids that were destined to die. So we don't follow the normal rules. And I've learned so much from it, and the people that I've met. And I kind of see these people on TV and stuff, and it's just like, it's not real, and most of what matters. And so I got a website and everything. People can go there and read all my stories and everything. But let's see. And then I've been shot, I think 9 times now. I've been stabbed. I can't remember how many. I've been left for dead 3 times. And so, that's kind of the synopsis of how I got here.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, your organization is definitely a noble thing to partake in kind of head. So that's actually very awesome that you are looking out for the best interests of the young people of this world. So very nice. When did your path run you into the phenomena? At what point in this?
Well, I was co-producer on a TV show called UFO-AZ down in Tucson, Arizona. And, I got exposure to a lot of that. But being in the temples, it was kind of like I couldn't really relate to a lot of the things that I was hearing, but then other things I could really relate to. And so it was just kind of a fun, kind of a hobby sort of thing for me. And that's what's so interesting about these people that I met and how that came to be, where I was starting to able to actually apply the things that I had learned, and about the expansion of the mind, and rather than the brain, and those sort of things.
That's very interesting as well. Yeah. And I meant to kind of circle back to that. The fact that at a young age, you were in a situation where you had the ability to have your mind opened up, and so your perception of reality ended up being different than most kids your age. So that's actually a great jump start. The only other comparison to that is children of people who have been awakened, like maybe your children or grandchildren, who have the benefit of being able to connect with you from a young age, and so they have this enlightening experience themselves. And so it's like a chain reaction thing is kind of how I look at it. But being that you were open to the possibilities of things, being more than what we see or perceive as reality, what did you have any initial incident that kind of took you back and was like, wait a minute, this definitely is not of our reality, and then let's start there?
Well, it was common for me. It was natural. I didn't have the blocks that most people do. It was like, I had so many experiences that once I left Shaolin, I became part of the Table of Ancients, which was kind of weird. I'm in a dojo, and it's a large dojo, and the master there doesn't allow guests or anything. And so one day I'm in a room, and I had broken legs, but I was still going to work out. And I was in a room, and it's full of mirrors. And this the master knocked on the door, said there was a visitor for me. So that kind of threw me off. And this little old man walked in. It's all frail. And he was almost like I could see through him in a way. And it was like weird. Everything that was happening was weird, because the master that was there, that I was under, brought a visitor in, which didn't make any sense. And then here I am with this guy, and he starts talking to me and stuff. And this was a weird point in my life, is because I was doing the Mel Gibson thing, in that one movie, with the gun in the mouth and all. And that night I was in my room because of the things that I had seen, right? Because of the type of life that I was carrying. And I had a a gun in my mouth, and I remember it going off. And then I remember waking up in the morning, seeing the crud in my carpet, and I'm alive, and the gun's still there, and there was a bullet missing there, hole in the wall, and it just confused me. But it was like, whatever, right? I'll just go to the dojo. So here I am at the dojo, and this old man comes walking in. I swear he was like transparent in a lot of ways. At certain ways I would look at him. And he told me he was part of the table of ancients, that they've been here since the beginning of time, and that they had basically an opening. And if I chose to be challenged by it, and if I did, to know that it was a life or death experience, and that I may die in the process of this application, and I may not. And I didn't even ask what anything else was, but I figured if I can't get it done, maybe they can for me, So I.
All right. It looks like we're buffering again. Oh man, right? I'm telling you, yet maybe it is. Excuse me, something else going on out there that's stopping the story from being told. It seems like right when we get to something very compelling, the line drops. And yes. So we'll wait for our guest here to come back. Yeah. Hopefully the internet stables up for us so we can get through, because he has a lot of information that he's going to give today, and definitely would hate for this to continue to happen throughout the night. But you kind of, depending on where you're at, like, internet isn't great everywhere. I think that's one thing we can all agree on. It's a miracle that so many live shows get to be completed because of the disparity in internet providers and services, right? It's not just uniform across the board in a lot of places. So that is one of the things about going live, right? Luckily, the places that I broadcast from, my internet is magnifique. Maybe I said that wrong. Maybe I didn't. Maybe it sounded good. Maybe it didn't. I don't know. We'll say hi to a couple people as we wait for our guest to come back in here. Let's see. All right, and we got the Duke, so that means we are back in business.
Woohoo!
They don't want you to say what you're gonna say. That's what it seems like.
You'd be surprised. They really want to know what I have to say.
Okay, so okay, you're right in the middle of the story, and yes, if you wouldn't mind continuing that.
So anyways, I went through these series from these different masters, and long story short, it wasn't easy, right? And like one of the things was they put me in this tiny pyramid, only big enough for me to fit in, and they would take these like bamboo shoots and pound them in there. And I couldn't really move or anything much because it was so tight. And it got to the point where I'd go unconscious at times. And during that process, it's something awoken in me, and I could kind of notice before it came through, the bamboo shoot would come through, and I'd stop it. And at that time, when I started to stop them, then they let me out. But there were several of these different types of tests that tested my ability for spirituality or seeing beyond, right? And then my final test was to face my 10 masters. Each one of them had one opportunity to kill me. And if I made it through, then I basically kind of graduated, and it was difficult for me to get through. I ended up breaking a couple ribs and stuff along the way. And once I got there, I had to move this big hot pot from the dark to the light. And so, which is in this little chamber. And so I had to grab it with my arms, and I got the scars of dragons, 2 dragons. To face the dragon is to be prepared to ride it the rest of your life. I didn't get the tiger, so which is to be prepared to be eaten. So anyways, I got lucky on that case. But anyways, this big pot was kind of heavy. And when I lifted it, I would set it over here where there was a little light coming through from the ceiling. And at that moment, the doors to the temple closed and the doors to the outside opened, meaning go out and practice what I've learned, right? Or preach what I've learned. And so that's kind of what I did. And that got me into the spiritual side in a way that was just part of my reality then.
Wow. Awesome. And you said the gentleman described himself as leader of the ancients or something close to that. What exactly did you say there?
Well, I call him the old man, but he was basically the leader or the organizer of the 10, right? Of the Table of Ancients.
Okay. And so, okay, so it was this a human person that we're referring to that as far as you know?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think I think, I don't know, but I didn't ask either.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, this is man, this is literally like something that you would see in a movie just how this is kind of breaking out. How did Okay, so now you're open spiritually, you now have this outlook on spirituality. Okay, so you leave out, you go practice the things you were taught, and then what happens next? What is the next thing to happen?
Oh, it's been an incredible life. When I go out, basically being part of the Table of Ancients is I have somebody to call, right? For advice or whatever, or guidance. And we also meet at times through the mind, and we transfer information. It's not telepathy or anything like that. It's just a feeling that you have. And so, it kind of set me up for what's happened recently. But you go out and you don't teach people. You just do, right? You be an example, and
Mm,
it's attractive to other people, which gravitate, which is kind of funny how it leads into what's coming, right? But it's allowed me to experience so many things and see things in such a different way. I'm completely human, of course, but I can't stay in one place, and it's been very difficult in my life in that way. So I've always had to be alone in a sense. Every time I would try the other way, it just doesn't pan out so well because I want to know more. I want to feel more.
mm.
And it's not like, oh, I need to go get a job here or get a job. It's just like, I just need to feel. And there's no real words for that, which I've learned my dictionary is like nothing anymore since what's coming.
Yeah, I align with that. I align with that. Just that need to just be, just the need to be and not be complacent in what it is that everyone else is doing and kind of just separate yourself and being the example is an awesome thing as well because we should all strive to be that example for that positive example in just the openness that we may have or approach things with kind of in it like you said it becomes attractive and ends up being something that others would like to emulate essentially. So that's awesome stuff. And let's kind of tease where we're going with this here because we got about a minute left before we go to break. So you're fully spiritual and then you actually end up coming across your first, I'm assuming, extraterrestrial encounter. Can you kind of set that up as we get ready to go to break?
Yeah, I go to the Glades every once a week and train soldiers from all these large contracting companies, and we teach them what the real life is, and the options that they'll have and things like that. And a lot of times, you know, uh, we make them into super soldiers in a sense, and it's in this wonderful place, like when I take them out, when we bring in new ones, they always put me out there. We drop off about 8 mile to 14 mile out in the ocean, and we got to swim in. And there's a lot of training that goes on in there about bonding and connecting with each other and overcoming fears and such. But in other words, these guys go through a lot, and it's kind of fun for me because put them in pain, but they're getting there, right? And while I'm there,
Stop right there. We got five
uh,
seconds as we get ready to go to break and continue on the other side of the break. It's an awesome conversation. As long as the internet stays connected, we'll be good tonight with our guest Z right here on the After Hours Radio Show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. You guys don't go anywhere. It's going to be epic. I promise you. Don't move a muscle. All right. We we are clear. All right, so we have 5-minute break right now, and you can do anything you want. You can hang out right here. You can run and grab something, anything you need to do. I'm going to talk to some of the other people that just came in, and let's see. Paramarv, I didn't see you come on in. Thank you for showing up here. Thanks for popping on in the building with us. Also, let me see, who else do we have? Fast Hemi. Did I say Fast Hemi? I don't remember. But hey, Fast Hemi, thanks for coming on in. If I didn't say hi. Carl Bittner, and I know I didn't say hi to you because you just pop it on in here. Appreciate you showing on up. Let's see. Who else do we hear? Who else came in? Doug Shelby, the Doug Shelby. Doug Shelby, thanks for coming on in. We appreciate you showing on up tonight. Saying damn Grays. Let's see. Miss Captain Jones says she is holding her breath. Yeah, it's getting in some good stuff. We're gonna go ahead and see exactly, where the story goes. What do we get? What's next? Guess we'll find out here in just a moment. And I guess shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll just say that real quick because they dethroned the Kansas City Chiefs in outrageous fashion. That's why I was hoping Von Patrick would show up tonight because we had this agreement. If you were here last night and you saw him say that he requested that I say that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win by 55 points. And I just said it because he gave the super chat. I'm going to keep it real, right? Because I really don't like the Eagles, but I'm sitting there watching the Super Bowl and 24 points in the first quarter. In the first half, I'm like, oh my God, is Von Patrick about to really predict the blowout in the Super Bowl that no one else probably predicted? So Von Patrick, hopefully you come on in here tonight so we can maybe even talk about that here. And we got about 2 minutes left. Let's see. Yeah, everybody's sitting on the edge of their seat here, Z. Wanting to see what's going on next. Super crazy movie geek. Who's your favorite NFL team? Mine happens to be the Dallas Cowboys. Do you have a favorite team, Z? NFL team?
Well, I did. It was Cowboys because I used to live there, but I kind of leaned towards Detroit because I grew up in that neighborhood, and I like to watch how they came about alive this year.
I think it's fair to have an NFC team and an AFC team. Like, why not? They're in two separate divisions, so I think that it's cool. And it's awesome that you're a Cowboys fan. I'll say that I'm a diehard Cowboys fan, but I was really less of a fan this year. It was just so bad that I literally didn't watch. I watched one game, and it was against the 49ers because I really hate the 49ers. And
Me too.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, but I didn't watch anything else. I didn't catch any other games, and it was I almost called myself boycotting the Cowboys this year because it's been bad, man. It has been bad. I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
Paramar was saying, "Woo-hoo, go Lions!" Okay, another Lions fan out there. Yeah. I don't have anything bad to say about the Lions. I really don't. If I had to pick an AFC team, though, let me see. Who would I lean into? Wow. That's a tough one because I really don't think about the AFC much. Yeah, I don't know. I've stumped myself, which is crazy. I don't know. I have no clue. Let's see. Yes, that is true, Roger Murray. Let's see. I guess I would have been a KC fan just because of what Mahomes has been doing lately. I guess if I had to pick something. Uh, all right, we got about 10 seconds before we come back from radio here. Guys, let's get ready to go. All right, everybody, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show. Back half of the first hour with our guest, Zaysan Saldausky. Just call him Zizo, as he gets into some great information here and experiences, right? This might line up with something that you felt, so we're going to be doing that going forward tonight. If you missed any of this conversation, don't forget, you can hop in our archives absolutely free. youtube.com/@spacedoutradio. All right. So I don't know, do you remember where you were in this story right before the break?
Yeah, it's on Earth.
Okay. So go ahead and pick this thing right on up because everyone's on the edge of their seats and they can't wait to see where this goes.
Yeah, well, during my time in the Glades, I go in once one day, and I helicopter out, helicopter in, and stuff, and I have a tendency to go wander in the swamp, and I follow the game trails and things like that, and not a lot of people would do that because all the snakes and the gators and the panthers and stuff like that, and I kind of really enjoy it, and it's just so beautiful in there. But I don't mind the heat and the bugs. I just use gun oil and it takes care of the mosquitoes and stuff. And so I have a habit of just wandering out there, and then I come back, and they all think I'm kind of crazy for doing that, but it's amazing, the sounds and everything. And so anyways, I was out there one day, and I come across, I don't know if you know what mangrove, like the mangroves are, but the trees, how they have the roots on top, right? And we also, if you walk in the wrong places, especially around them, you got what we call the suck, and that's when you step in it, you go up to your knee, right? And as I got deeper out in there, I saw this absolutely beautiful woman, that blonde, and had this like blue jumpsuit on, and it didn't fit the picture whatsoever because we're like 100 miles from anything. And so I'm wondering if I was smelling something along the way, one of the trees or something that was a hallucination or something. But, she was tangled up. And so I felt like, well, I'll just follow through. Maybe it's an animal and I'm seeing something else, right? And if there was an animal out there hung up or something, I would do what I needed to do to get it free. And so I approached real slow. And as I'm getting in closer to her, I can see that she's a little timid, a little scared. And then she looks at me, and she's got these eyes that are so much bigger than ours. I mean, you could almost get away with it if people weren't paying attention, but they're bigger. And so now I'm really confused. And so what I do is I get within, probably 15 or 20 feet, and I just stop, and I get out a cigar, and I light it up, and I just stand there and allow her to get accustomed that I'm not there to hurt her or anything. And so eventually I walk a little closer, and when I get pretty close, I can tell she's scared, but she's not struggling or anything. So then, I kind of make hand gestures and stuff that she's kind of hung up and stuff, and she agrees. And I pull out my knife that I carry all the time, and she kind of jumps at first, but then, I kind of turn my back and set it on the edge of one of the limbs, and for her to get. And then I step back, and she looks at it and feels it and everything. And then she sets it back. And so I go in and I cut her out. And after I get her cut out, I back away from her again, and she starts to walk, and I can tell that she's not walking quite right. And I mean, you'd swear this was just one of us, right? I mean, there's, other than the eyes, there's just like no difference. And so she gets a few steps, and then I move more closer to her, and I motion like I can pick her up and take her somewhere. And so she agrees. And it was kind of funny because I'm expecting some, because she was about she's up to about here on me, and I'm 6'2". And so I figured, she's maybe 100 pounds wet. And so when I go to grab her, I almost throw her over my head because she was so light. But I understand later that, they can kind of manipulate their weight. So anyway, I carry her, and she keeps giving me directions. And we get to this mound, which I had never seen before there. And I didn't understand what the mounds were in Florida until after that. I researched it. But anyways, there was this Indian mound out there, and it was kind of clear of the brush. And so she motioned for me to put her down. And so I did. And then she was like, move back. And so I took a few steps back and everything. And then I watched her as she put her hands together in prayer, right? Like this. Mm-hmm. And as she did that, I looked up, and this blue light comes down, and I could see like a metallic engine. It wasn't the full thing. It was only about 4 or 5 feet around. And I looked back down, she's gone. And so I thought, well, that was fun. And, I went on my way, and it was hard to get out of my mind what had happened and stuff. And it's like, well, if I'm under some kind of influence, then it's not harmful. And that was pretty cool. So I just left it at that and went back. And it wasn't until about, I'd say 2 or 3 weeks later, and I'm out doing one of my hikes, and I just decided to, it's like, should I go back that way? Because I don't usually go over that way. But I thought, well, maybe I can go see if there's any tracks or anything over the mound. And I was kind of particularly looking for panther tracks or something. And as I got up there, this blue light come down, and I was on the ship. And I'm looking at these 6 people, and none of them, all of them were a lot taller than me. They were about 7 foot or so, and except for Sam Jess, and that was the one that I had picked up. And I'm looking at them, and they did not want me there. I could tell. It was very obvious they did not want me there. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, if they eat me and kill me and stuff like that, I guess it'll be a good story to tell in heaven, right? And so, nothing to lose. I just stand there and watch. And as I get down the line, when I get to Sam Jess, she's standing there with a smile on her face and waving at me. And I think, well, this might be okay, And so that was the very beginning of how all this started.
Wow. Okay. And let me ask you a couple questions about that. So the instantaneous, the snap of the finger on the ship, was that literally a blink of an eye? So no feeling of being transported, like you literally were just boom in the ship?
Yeah, like currently when I go to meet with them, I just walk into my hallway because I already know I feel this like static, and I can tell they're sensing me or something. And so I'll step into that, and I'm on the ship. Well, it's like taking one step in the hallway, and the next step you're in the ship.
Okay. So let's flesh out who these beings are, because I know you end up having interactions with them to determine what they are. But I don't know if you can say, like, what would she have been doing in the mangroves to start with? Like, do you have any clue at this point?
Well, let me roll back just a little bit. Is like when this happened, I told some of my friends, and they just started bombarding me with questions and the same questions and stuff like that. So I said, fine, I'll just write a book. And, it took about 2 weeks or so. I wrote a book, and it's like my diary, right? So that I could give it to my friends, and they would be better able to ask me questions. And so I put it on Amazon, and the next thing I know, it just blew up. So I've written 11 books since 2022, May of 22. So, and I've got 2 more. One's about to be released, and then I've got another one's enough material to cover that. Usually takes me about a day or 2 to write an entire book, but that's weird too. But there's so much. That's why I say there's so much information. We'll never get to all of it. But to answer your question is like being with them, I got to know who they were. They were kind of like lab people, right? And the blue uniform is consistent, and normally blue eyes and blonde hair, which most people relate to, like Palladians. But from my understanding, it's not really a habitable area. And so a lot of people may be connected, which you'll see in many of my other books where we have ceremony and stuff. But they're at 400, like I think the Pleiades is 480 light years or something like that. And then it's another 80 light years to their place and beyond that. And so they were all wearing these blue uniforms, and I didn't quite understand, but all of them were part of like research and things like that. When people ask me about their job, well, it's pretty much unlimited, but they have specialties, right? And then it expands outwardly from that because of the way they're taught when they're young. But Sam Jess was who wasn't familiar with the word or anything for that much, or other than what I heard about this other guy. But anyway, she was like, in a sense, she was the daughter of this famous person who ran, the realm, is what I know now to be the realm, where how things work and all that. And that she was like, kind of like me in a lot of ways. She was a wild child, didn't really want anything to do with that. And so she just kind of escaped and went from here to here and learning all these different things, which kind of funny. It's kind of what she needed to do anyway, but she took it on her own. And so anyways, she was like, in a sense, I call her a stowaway on the ship. She could go wherever she wanted to go and with anybody. And so she chose to go on this ship just to get away from other things that were going on. And so she really wasn't part of the crew. And during time with them, she basically became a crew. They became my family. So through many events.
Very, very compelling. I mean, and just to kind of start back, because I'll tell you, and obviously this, you'll have skeptics that'll come into a conversation and they'll hear this and they'll be like, wait a minute, whoa. Here's what I say. We have these craft in the sky. We have accounts where these things have landed on the ground. We also have accounts where these things have gotten out of their craft and presented themselves to people. You also mentioned the Palladians, and that's kind of the description sort of reminds me of that. So we know all these things occur based on the amount of experiencers that tell these stories. So with that being said, the next question I would have for you is, do you find out at some point down the line that they, their reason for being here on Earth are these beings the type of beings that people talk about integrating with humans because they look so human, right? Like they talk about the Pleiades and they talk about the other ones that are human looking, attempt to kind of merge with human beings and intermingle with us and walk around the planet. Are these the same type of beings that would do that?
It's funny. When I started this, when people started to be interested, it's like, this is my experience. I don't compare it to anybody else. This is what I feel, what I know, and what I share. I can't share absolutely everything, but I can. They approve everything that I've put out, and I've talked about a lot of things that didn't really exist before now. And I also learned, there's so much information. People call them nuggets in my book about sensing and just like, for instance, how they travel. It's so simple. There's no fuel that's needed or anything like that. And it's instantaneous. What they do is they find a place in space that they want to go, and they are able to figure out the exact frequencies of everything there. And they also have what I call PI, or personal intelligence, that is a living being in a sense. That's what the fog that you see around these ships and stuff are. And basically those are protecting the people, but that's a whole nother story. But anyways, when they want to move from one place to another, they find that frequency, then they become that frequency, and they're there. There is no such thing as time. And so, it's an illusion. It's like Einstein said, time is the clock on the wall. That's it. Mm-hmm. There is no time. And our lives, like you know, I may be going off here, but there's so much information, but it kind of alludes to what you're talking about. And that is, there's multiple species. I've met so many different ones, and they explained to me several things about how our origin was and that. And the best way to describe it, it's not like evolution. You have like a tree, right? And all these leaves, and each one of these leaves is a species. And when that leaf comes off the tree and hits the ground, it takes off running. So at times in our past, we've had multiple species living and coexisting right together. And most of them goes extinct. And we seem to be one of the longer lasting ones. But like, if you want to look at the mysteries of like the pyramids, or my favorite in particular is the one near Lake Titicaca. I think it's in Bolivia, where it almost looks like Lego blocks that fit together and they're magnet. You know, they showed me where like there's these elongated head people that you'll see, and you'll see a unique difference between each of the continents that they're from or that they've been found. And some of them had wings, some of them didn't. But when we were very young as a species and didn't know a lot, the elongated head people taught our people different things, like how they made the pyramids by, you know, creating the glass forms, pouring the concrete basically into it. And then the other one where they lock together, where they found the magnetite, or whatever you want to call that creates the magnetism within them, and the purposes for that. So, you know, we can go down a really long hole and a lot of information in that direction. But essentially they are, there's what they call natural love, like our consciousness. Like here we go with past lives. Like we feel like we have all these different past lives, right? Well, they're not, they're projections. We're not really here either. That's why time doesn't exist. Everything that we see is a blink of an eye in the time of universe, right? And as projections, we're part of consciousness, which I homerize everything, right? Because I can't understand it unless I do. And one of those things about, like, all of our lives are taking place at the same time, but it's not on this single realm. It's on multiple planes of existence. Like, each plane of existence has multiple planes, has also multiple dimensions. So each one of those projections is one of those dimensions, because dimensions are an aspect of ourself. So when we're projecting down, plus we never die, because we never come here. We never left consciousness. So the way I see it is like, the best way to describe like consciousness is this big dude, right? And he's like all his gray hair, and he's sitting on a lounge chair, and like in the Matrix, he's watching all these televisions. Well, each one of those televisions is one of our lives, and that we're projecting to. And so it's like a TV series, right? And when that TV series is over, or our death, in a sense, that ends that TV series, and that consciousness, our essence, comes back to the whole, which is we're all part of the same consciousness, right? We're all one being. And then that goes into like what I call like a museum, because it never dies. So when you see like these ghost hunters, I saw this really good one with this kid of Lizzie Borden, or not kid, but grandson or great grandson, something like that. And he was talking to her. Now on the show, the perception is that he's talking to her from the past, but the reality is that he was actually talking to her in the present, because we don't die. And so that part of our essence goes into the museum, but there's always more essence to collect onto another piece of the puzzle board, which is consciousness. And then that projects back down here on Earth. Am I going too fast?
No, you're definitely laying it out. I'm sitting there absorbing, and the computer chip is kind of going right now, but yeah, no. So keep going with that, because we have about 5 minutes left, and I definitely have some questions for you as well.
Okay. Let's see. I can move around a little bit. Like talking about planes of existence, there, we don't live just on this one where we see ourselves as like humans and stuff. There's also ethereal. There's, like angel type beings or fairy type beings, whatever you want to do. But there's so many planes. There's multiple planes of existence, and there's multiple dimensions on each one of those planes of existence. That's all currently taking place. So, imagine that. And that's just our essence. That's part of the collective consciousness. so that like when Sam Jess was explaining that to me, I said, wait, that's just like too far for my brain to go. There's also a lot about the mind and the brain where this is where we take the next step, and about as far as connecting to Earth, we're not ready in any possible shape or form. Although, guidance is part of, a planet such as ours in a sense. So there are different species that exist here, but they're confined, and they basically have the control of it, and they allow the control us to think we are in control, like for say military, right? And they allow us or them to be here, and in that they have trades at times, but they never give us anything more than that we can't develop on our own. Now, so there's a guy, I can't remember his name, but he really nailed it. And he was a weatherman, I guess, on Area 51. And he talked about his experiences, and it's I believe real with that interchange. But as far as that goes, they do work with children at times because their minds haven't been separated hemispheres, or I mean the brain, because you need, like, they helped me blend I call it blending of the mind, of the brain, in order for you to see more clearly through the mind. The brain has limitations. So, this is kind of fun too, that I think you'll like. I had the opportunity to meet there's so many different species in this part of the universe that they look like us, right?
Okay, before you go into that part, there was one part I wanted to ask you, which was, okay, you said we're not here because of the our collective consciousness. So, and I understand what you're saying there. So where are we sent to this planet, or are we on this planet to experience a physical thing? Or, because I'm trying to understand, like, when you make the statement that we're not here, but we are kind of here. So can you kind of elaborate a little bit on that?
We're a projection.
Okay. And so where are we being projected from then? Is what I want to
from consciousness.
Okay.
And that's why, like, everything in the universe is part of the consciousness. So we're all one being in a way to make it more simple to understand. And so the way I describe it is that consciousness all has these puzzle pieces. And so when we choose to project, we get essence. Our essence is like imagine honey spread on a piece of a puzzle, right? And that piece of puzzle is our consciousness, and the essence on it is our identification, or who we are, our frequency that we project down here to learn, to experience.
Okay. And then, so in the event that so if you like when you stamp your finger, okay, and now you're on the ship, so is it really a matter of being just projected to the ship, like you're not actually there on the ship, but you're simply, your consciousness is being projected there? So how does that work out?
It's part of the projection is there's a created reality in the quantum. In other words, like, in order to explain that, you can be in the quantum fluid wherever you are, right? But if you don't recognize it, you can't see it or obtain it. When you do recognize it, then it becomes aware, and you'll see it. It can be in colors or whatever, but that's how we manifest the life, to learn what it is that we came here to learn, or what we projected here to learn.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's do this. We have 30 seconds before we actually go to our top of the hour break. And it's good that you're laying it all out this way, because then we can pose the questions to that to get a better understanding. And then we'll take it on to the actual experiences with the beings, the consistent and constant experiences that you are having, and try to kind of, put it in a mind frame of understanding how this all connects. You guys don't go anywhere. It's going to be a great conversation here with our guest Zaysan Saldausky. You guys, it's going to be great. Go get some popcorn, but make sure you come right back.
Conversations that move the needle.
Conversations that move the needle.
You're listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio.
You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
Okay, we are clear. And Zaysan, we're actually off camera for 5 minutes. So I'll see you in a minute.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to Space Out Radio, the After Hours Radio Show, after hour number 2. As we get back with our guest here, Zaysan Saldausky, we call him Z. And we have about 30 seconds before we actually come back from radio, guys. So let me see if anyone else has popped in. I think I saw Kira. Long time no see, Kira. Thanks for coming on in. It's been a while. Glad to see you here. Glad to see you're in good spirits and doing okay. Also, Lovey Love, and we call her Dr. Love. Hey, Dr. Love, thanks for coming on in. We appreciate you showing on up. And we're coming back from radio right about now. All right, everybody, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number 2. As we get back with our guest, Zaysan Saldausky, calling the Z. We are having awesome conversation. He's breaking it down for us. We're absorbing information. And now we're going to get into those encounters, ongoing experiences. You can hear them right here in hour number 2. So don't go anywhere. If you missed any of the previous conversation, once again, jump in the archives. They're absolutely free. YouTube.com/@SpacedOutRadio. All right, so Z, okay. We were getting heavy. You were dropping it on us, and I'm sitting here and I'm absorbing the information because I'm like, okay, said that, and it's definitely making sense. But then obviously you have to pose questions now. So projections. So that was a big thing. So with projections, is there then? So in your situation where you have these Pleiadians, and then we also have those Palladians out there. So the beings that we're seeing then, if these are projections, are they just projecting themselves in a way that they would like to present themselves to us? Is this their true form? And then I guess the other question would be, because if the answer is no, and then is this our true form? And then why would we choose to project ourselves in the way that we do? If you have anything to add to that.
This is a physical experience, right? And so we project as that for that environment, for that experience, because we're part of the collective consciousness where there's multiple choices that we can make. And as I explained, the way they told me was how we're on multiple planes of existence, like, several in just this place, like Earth and the universe and so on and so forth, as a physical being. But we can be multiple types of beings too, and because there's multiple planes of existence, and each of those planes of existence has a dimension, which is a life. So there's multiple dimensions on multiple planes of existence, and so you can kind of see where it starts to get overwhelming when you start adding in, this isn't the only one. There are many, many planes of existence in different forms for experiences of different things, because we're part of the quantum, the quantum is everything. The thing that scientists don't understand about consciousness is that it's alive, why it doesn't react the way it's supposed to, and so on and so forth. And, but I get into all that, and I get into the quantum, and like me and Sam Jess basically are two planes of existence that crossed at the same time, or merged together, and we became a quantum entanglement. And a lot of people don't quite understand what a quantum entanglement is, but it's two projections. In other words, my TV series that was here and her TV series here now is one, and we're both on. Of course, I'm the star, but I'm joking.
Wow. But walk me through, because I know you stated earlier last hour that you have, the ability to kind of just snap and then have an encounter. So can you kind of take us through like what an average encounter? Are they similar? Are they the same? Or are they very different every time?
Well, there was another part we left off at, but I'd like to get back to. Just remind me. But yeah. Now, the people that I associate with we're part of a lab and stuff. And now Sam Jess has become a queen, which was her rightful thing, which was what the intent was the whole time. And so most of my existence is with them, because I call them my family. There's so much information here, but I think this is probably important here as you bring that up. When I first started meeting them, they wanted to find out if they should have me on the ship. Well, Sam Jess, again, she has no authority, but she has a lot of power because of who she is. And so I was allowed to be on the ship. And so what you would call command, I use words that don't apply, but make it understandable. They told them, well, try to work with me as like a contactee. And so, we would go into these sessions where we would talk about stuff. There's a reason that they pick up the language, but that's a whole nother story. But anyways, we'd have these discussions, and it was like they needed to know everything about whatever it was that we were talking about and in detail. And there came a day when I was with them and we were having a discussion, and basically think about, there was a man walking down the street without a shirt. 16 hours later, they're still asking me questions. And it's in order for them to understand every little thing about that, so that if they were to be faced with that, they would understand everything there was to know about that. And I told them that, I just don't know if I can do this. I said, I need a break. And so there was going to be a few days that I wasn't going to be there. Well, I was here in my apartment, and about, like I say, 3 or so days later, Sam Jess shows up, and she asked, what is it that, why did I leave? And is there a problem and stuff? And so I was watching this TV show, and it was a sitcom, and it's like 30 minutes long, right? And so I show it to her, and so she asked me a bunch of questions about what was going on, the interactions between the people. And so then I kind of explained a little bit, showed her again and again. Well, after the third time, I showed it again, and I showed it again. And then she goes, why do you keep playing the same one? And I said, that's what it was like for me 16 hours in your ship. You guys asking me the same question. And they finally understood it. So we found a way to move through that with showing them like videos or movies. But there was another part that, so basically I was working with them, and Sam Jess was separate from the lab people, and the lab people didn't really know each other, but they were kind of starting to get along because they had to work with me. Otherwise they would have been separate in a ship doing their own thing. And then Sam Jess became part of that people too, and events took place where we all bonded. One of the things that I had to get over in the very beginning was that I had to, what I call, become naked. And that was a very difficult thing to do for me. And because of all the work I've had, it's about not knowing, right? And to know what they don't know. And so when I'm on the ship, I had to tell them everything. And I couldn't hide anything, absolutely nothing. You can't lie to them. You can't deceive them, that sort of thing. And to live in that was very, very difficult. But I started to grasp what their base was, and that's love. Everything is about love. And later I found out that we have this brain, right, which is very limited, but we have all this extra space in there. I mean, we use the full brain, but there's a lot of places to store like memory and stuff. And as the things that we see as magic, right, levitation, somebody walking through a wall and things like that, are all possible for us to do. But in order to do that, we have to keep filling all these slots with all the memories of love that we can. So in order to do that, for most of us, we have to go out and experience it and apply it. And it doesn't mean like when you go to Sedona and a whole bunch of people stand around and say, oh, love and light and stuff. It doesn't mean that, because that's not practical. Love is undefinable, which I've also come to learn that it's so expansive that every time you turn around, it's a bigger thing. That's love. And that's what allows us to create the magic, do the things that we're capable of. And they really liked this one phrase that I used about Jesus one time when he was healing all these people, right? And at the end of that, what he says to the people is, you, the people of this earth, can do that, all that I can do and more. And that they really liked that, because that's true. Our potential is limitless, but one of the big stumbling blocks that we have is we rely on the brain. The brain is very limited. It's an organ, and that we need to see things through the mind, which is unlimited probabilities, possibilities. It allows us to see the things that we are capable of and we can't perceive of yet. And that's a big deal too, because our brain, like we have an experience, like here we go. This is where we left off. I was on the ship, and there's like in the realm, there are what I call the bug people, right? Which is what a lot of people call like reptilians and stuff like that. And they have very little emotion, and they're more of like a hive mind in a sense. And I compare them to insects right on here on Earth, the way they work. But they're also part of what's called natural law. And that's a requirement in order to be a species coexisting within a realm. And so I really wanted to meet one time. Now that I knew that they were friendlies, that they don't really communicate with the human type beings. They do in a sense, but they can't really have a communication because there's no real emotion that comes from them. No, energy in that sense. It's more of a collective sort of thought, but they share with everything. Like if they're harvesting a planet for certain things and they have more that they need, then they'll give it to, people of the other part of the people of the realm. Anyways, so I know that there was nothing to fear about them and everything, but I really, really wanted to meet one. And so they said, sure, we can make that happen for you. And so next thing I know, I'm arranged to meet one of these people, bug people, I call them. And the one that I met was kind of like if you ever seen a microscope of a spider, right? It looks like this monster and everything.
Yeah.
And I know in myself that they're safe, right? Because my people told me there's nothing to worry about. They won't harm you. And because it's part of natural law, which is a necessity. And so they put me in this room, and I'm like 3 feet from his face, and I'm laying down and he's above me. And I was petrified.
Right.
I was completely like losing it. It's like, I know it's safe. It's not going to happen. But just to be confronted with that. And I've seen some dark stuff, right? But when I was confronted, I was complete fear. So that kind of brings us back to like the mind versus the brain. The brain is in survival mode. So if we have this experience where in a blink of an eye, we see one of these creatures, right? And they're close to us. Well, we're very limited because our brain doesn't have the reference to identify what it was we just experienced. We only remember fear and pain. And so because of that experience, so the brain, in order to compensate for that, fills in the references with the accumulated knowledge that we have, right? The way that one needs to experience that is through the mind. That's not on a survival mode and isn't making things up. So it's like, okay, I want to know how the pyramids were built, right? I don't ask a whole ton of questions. Whatever my experiences was at the pyramid, that's what I hold on to. And I appreciate and know everything about that experience that I had. But I also have to set aside trying to figure out the other questions that I may have about it. What happens is in due time, you'll have another experience completely unrelated that answers those questions that you were wondering about the pyramid. And those references are pure. So what it is that you understand and experience is real. Where see the brain, if you rely on the brain, you're going to be limited and you have to use references that you create yourself. Is that clear?
Yeah, it actually is. And here's the thing, and I'm trying to kind of wrap my mind around what is the use for physical. Like if you are having an encounter with one of these beings and you are on their ship, if this is a projection, then what ends up being the need for them for the physical ship? Is it because they are showing themselves to you in the physical form also, which is why they need have to be on the ship?
Well, we're all one, right? And in order to fully experience and feel, sense, love, all these different things, in order to elevate the essence that's created to place on the consciousness to benefit the whole, we need to have some way of reference. And those references are being a physical being or a ethereal being or whatever it may be, in order to collect that information from experience to feed the whole. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Because I had a line of questioning, but this seems to be, because this hasn't been explained this way as far as an experience, from an experiencer standpoint. or at least it hasn't been articulated by an experiencer, is what I'll say. Um, so is there, what is the, okay, so in your interactions with the beings that you've interacted with, when you have these conversations, do they ever at any point reference what you or we should be doing as humanity? Like, is there even that sort of aspect? Because now we're talking about these different dimensions and different realities potentially. So, do they focus on this reality and what's going on in this current world? Do they talk about that at all, or kind of what is the sort of conversation that you have?
It's love.
Okay.
Love is, it accesses every little thing. Like a lot of people want to know, oh, I want to contact, right? And in order to do so, I give them the exercise in a sense where it's very simple. It's like you feel a golden ball, right? It enters through your skull and out your feet, and it comes again and again and again and again until you don't have to think about it anymore. And then once you've done that, you think about one thing, that one memory of love that's unconditional beyond anything else, and you start replaying that over and over in your mind while you still have the sensing of this ball moving through your body. And as you repeat and repeat that memory of love, it suddenly becomes real. Like you're really there again, and you forget that it's a memory and that it's real. That opens up the doors to nearly everything right at that moment, because the feeling of that's that key that we all need is of the unconditional love. And that's what natural law is basically about. And the only way that, and then why I have to become negative with them, right? Anytime that I'm with them. And now it's a natural thing, but it was a very tough struggle for me in the beginning. Just try that one day. It won't work here yet, right? But to be absolutely unconditional in every way. So love, like I say, is the key of all of this stuff. That's how natural law works. Like when they go and say they terraform a planet, or they work with a rogue planet, and they're in the process of that, they cannot change it in any way that it couldn't have become on its own. But they can speed up the process in its growth or evolution. And there has to be a purpose behind it, and they work together to do that. And so you have all these millions of species that work together to find out what this planet is best for, who could support the most types of beings on it, and who could benefit the most from it. And so everything is done in that way within the realm. It's called natural law.
Okay. Is the message a message from these extraterrestrials would essentially be love? And I've heard that before from other experiences. Love is the overarching message and the goal, hope, the hope for humanity. And I hope so too, truthfully. I mean, at the end of the day, but are there any, because you said you dealt with various, are there any malevolent aspects to, you know, the reality of us interacting with these extraterrestrial species? I would think there would have to be, because there's a yin and a yang, there's a light and a dark, cold and a hot. So it'd be love, and then the opposite of that is kind of what you would think, right? Is that accurate, or have you experienced that?
Well, I haven't personally experienced it in this time, but I've met thousands of beings. But at the same time, I have asked that question, and the way they described it to me is like us, we're malevolent, here on Earth.
Yeah.
The people who, prior to interstellar travel, before they understand that they don't need the things that they need in order to create what they are seeking, then they can become malevolent. Right. And then it's kind of up to them. But once they become interstellar is when they start to interact with species from the realm. And that's when, they are explaining to them, because at that time they have reached a certain, we call a certain level of spirit, right, within them, that understands that negative just takes away, period. I mean, there's no other, that's the simplest explanation, where positivity or love creates. And so you cannot take or give one or the other. You have to become the one or the other, right? And if you want to advance, you want more, then you need to be in the love. And that's part of natural law.
Have you ever been able to I guess show this to anyone else as far as exposing someone else to the experience, right? So if I was with you, is there a way that you could expose me to the experiences that you have?
Let me put it this way, that when you become fearless of everything and you accept everything and you become naked, if you have that capability within you and you practice like the sensing is what I just described, that will lead you into contact. Now I do have there's two friends of mine very close that I've known for many, many years. Ron Holt, he teaches about the quantum, and he's been able to help me kind of understand the things that the aliens weren't able to teach me about the quantum and what I was experiencing, because I was experiencing all these very deep, detailed parts of the quantum, and I had never studied the quantum, so I didn't really know, right? And so he was able to help me, guide me through that. And then there's his wife, Lisa Royal Holt, who's been doing contact for many, many years. I think she was associated with SETI and stuff like that. And anyways, I started to work with them, and she made fun one day. She goes, "We're having this contact event out in the desert. Could you send your Progerins our way?" And just kind of laughingly, right? I said, "Well, I'll check and see what they say." And they did. And they, at the first time, they saw just a big bright white light they couldn't explain that flashed on them. And then one time it was kind of funny. I'm kind of monitoring what's going on, and they're sending me pictures, and they're not having any contact, but they feel this love, right? And so I look at their pictures and I start blowing them up, and there's like 18 UFOs in one picture. Then she realized that when she was going down the road, the pictures that she was just taking of the scenery, there was UFOs in each of those too. But it's went even further as I started to tell her what I knew about, the love and about, you have to be naked and things like that in order to be open to receive. Right. And so she was in Japan recently, and that somebody put a full spectrum camera there, and there's amazing photos of all these different shapes and things that appeared within the group. And then there are experiences that people are having that she's done conferences with, where she asked, we kind of worked together on this. She asked me, "So what was you guys doing?" And I said, well, they hugged them, right? They came and they hugged them. They shared the love. And she was telling me about the story after story about people feeling that, and how, things had changed for them in the sense of experience. So yeah, in that sense. And then there's a friend of mine, Tom Dongo. You've probably heard his name a few times. He's, I guess, one of the world's best remote viewers. And when I started talking to him about this, he said, he goes, we can't use a picture. I just need to know, right? Sort of thing. I said, okay, well, you're a remote viewer. I said, I'll put some things on a table, and then after you've went up there and remoted, you can kind of tell me what it was. Well, he got 5 out of the 6. He just couldn't see the 6th one. So it was kind of like a validation in a sense, but I don't look for validations.
Yeah, I mean, we know definitely remote viewing is a real thing. And my whole thing, the reason why I asked that question, it kind of going back a little bit, I think you were talking about really like being the enlightenment and kind of being your frequency being raised to be in a position to have the experience. And so I can understand that. And I'm always looking for a way that, someone who has contact and someone who has consistent contact can be the one to kind of lead the way in showing the rest of the world that we have something going on, right? And obviously I'm not that person, but because I've only had a set amount of experiences, but it is definitely something that I ask all people who have consistent experiences, because I think it's important for those who do not have experiences. We talked about this the other night, but we're going to talk some more. We have about 30 minutes left here with our guest, Zaysan Saldausky. We call him Z because he said it's cool. We can do that. And we're going to come right back right after the break, guys. We have some of your questions already. get more questions in line so I can go ahead and ask
Yeah.
the questions right after the break, right here in the Spaced Out Radio After Hours Radio Show. We'll be right back. All right, we are clear. Yeah. So yeah, you lay some heavy information on us, some stuff you got to think about, right? And just kind of bridging it back. It's like, okay, I understand what you're saying, and you're saying some of the things you're saying exactly what we always talk about, but you're presenting it in a different way. So it's kind of cool to be able to connect those dots for the audience because they totally understand because we talk about it all the time. Enlightenment, raising your frequency, being in a position to have the experience. You got to have your frequency up. You got to be open. And so we always talk about that. And essentially that's what you're saying here. But yeah, we talked, I think, yeah, it was just yesterday talking about how there are a set of people who just never have experiences, who really want to. They really yearn to have it. They go their entire lives without making any of these connections. And that's where I feel like, those who are open enough to have consistent and constant experiences, this is where you step in and say, hey, I'm going to facilitate this and kind of bridge the gap for the ones who never have experiences. So I don't know how you feel about that, but that's something we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I could say about, the way other people do things, but I don't want to go there because it's not my experience. This is my experience. Just for instance, just the simplest thing is like, you can go get a teaspoon of dirt anywhere in the forest and you get 40 years worth of DNA. And then they can take that DNA and recreate that being or split it, between other beings and things. Mm-hmm. They don't really need us, that sort of thing. And like my books, I go into detail. This is just a snapshot. I got so much information that's come so fast to me that's why I've written so many books so quickly, is because it just keeps coming and I need to keep writing it. And I go into detail on a lot of things. And, I've told about a lot of stuff that didn't exist prior to my book. Right. And now they exist, but it's just simple things. And it's understanding. And what I tell people, love is the key. If you want contact, you want to become part of that realm. There's so many different levels of planes of existence that we exist on, right? So our experience with them may be physical, or may appear to be physical. It may be in the mind, and so on and so forth. But the mind is the key. The brain, just stop it. Stop trying to figure stuff out, right? And move into the mind. And you got to believe. You got to trust. And when you have an experience, that's the key, is give it an eternity. Don't say, oh, there's a being and here's a being. I'll go talk to this guy and then this. No, you go to the one, right? The one that you resonate with immediately and give it an absolute eternity. It's very easy. But and all my money that gets from the books goes into my charity. So, that's one thing too. I'm not here to profit. I'm here to just share my experience. If it resonates with somebody, follow the rules.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the other things as well. Just being selfless in the way that you do your work and how you interface with the community. Because they're when you tell your story, not just you specifically, but just in general, it takes time to curate that and put those things together. So you're going to have things that are definitely going to be for sale, but that doesn't really have the negative connotation that some might want to put on it, as in this community, how that goes. But you're speaking a lot of really good stuff. And it's understandable. And I think it's just, it's more of a translation sort of thing is what we're doing here, because we all talk the same thing, but, some people present it in a different fashion. So connecting.
That's why I say yeah. And, I turn down all of conferences. I've been offered like everyone that comes up. It's just constant. I just turn them all down because that's not my interest. And I did accept one that's coming up in May, but it's because of the people that's involved. They're just amazing people. And so, yeah, I'll go with them. But yeah, and like I say, all the money that goes straight to the charity to help the kids. That was a really funny story. Doing what I do is so dark that and I'm not a person to go out and ask for money. I just can't be that person.
Mhm.
And I can't hire anybody. So everybody that works for me is a volunteer, all the soldiers and all the volunteers. And so that actually is kind of funny. I thought to myself, if I do this right about aliens, how am I going to lose my, any kind of credibility? And I said, well, I ain't even getting any money anyway. I've been funding it myself for a long time. So I write books, and suddenly we're doing rescues like every month, a couple of them. So we're saving kids just through the sales of these books.
and I'm pro humanity, so I'm all for the efforts that you're doing here. And then also what we're talking about tonight is the same for the same purpose. But we're coming right back from radio right now. Okay, our radio system crashed here. So we're going to go ahead and let me see. That is interesting. Right as we were coming back from break. All right, let me go ahead and play that. I'll have to do an edit. Wow. Very interesting. Okay. This is 9:30. Okay, here we go. All right, everybody, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show, after hour number 2. We're on the backside of the hour, which means we only have about 20 minutes left with the guests. We're going to go ahead and pose questions this half of the hour. So I've gone ahead and marked some out for you guys. We're going to go ahead and present them right now. So don't go anywhere. It's just getting spicy right here on the After Hours radio show, Spaced Out Radio, guys. Here we go. So jumping into questions, we had very strange. We're having issues over here. First question that I had here was J True Seeker. Was Sam Joss a name she already had, or was that a name you gave her, thus naming her after Sam Jess or Sam Jess from the Billy Meyer contact case?
That was her name and it's famous name. The rest of them I gave names to because I couldn't pronounce them. So she's the only one that I actually use as that was what she told me her name was, and that's what I use.
All right. And let's see. Next question, the Andromedan. What's the type or shape of their crafts? Each
ship is designed for the purpose, whatever they want. When I'm like on their planet and stuff, they'll have these like go-tos that kind of look like the Star Wars jets, but they're just for small people, small transportation. But when I went to the factory there and they were showing me, and each individual is designed specifically for what they want to use it for. And it can also be altered. So there's no one design that's common.
All right. And okay, Super Crazy Movie Geek asks, is there a connection between UFOs and Bigfoot and other cryptids in your mind?
Yes, I can't really go into that.
All right. And we have Mothman, who is asking, how can I contact Z?
Multiple ways. There's my website, the Quest, ECSS.org, or you can go in endingchildsexslavery.org. It might be easier. I got a Facebook page. I'm real easy. I got emails, and the emails are also on my Facebook. Website. Very easy to contact me.
All right, and then
also on my books too. On the back of the book, they have my contact information.
Okay. Woo Riders DG was asking, why do so many experiencers who have been abducted by NHI say that they have been probed, in your opinion? And then why do NHI do this to human abductees? I don't know.
Yeah, it's not part of what I'm experiencing, but I knew they have worked with individuals for specific reasons. The best way to look at it is like a bear. Imagine being the bear, and a helicopter flies over. You don't know what a helicopter is, and they knock you out. And then they're next thing you know, you can see them, but you can't move, and they're doing things to you and stuff. And next thing you know, they're gone. Right? I think that's like more of a best way to explain something like that. But as a common thing, no, it's not a very common thing from the people that I know.
All right. And are octopi from another planet originally? We were talking about this the other day. They seem alien. What is your opinion on octopi?
I'm not sure, but it gets a little confusing when you think about the species that are placed here, or the seeding of the planet, and so on and so forth, in order to adapt. So are they or aren't they, in a sense like that? Now, I've been on other places, other planets, where I've gotten to meet a lot of different fish life, or I guess you would say, and I've seen things very similar to that. So it is a possibility, but it's just never been something of my interest to ask them about.
Wow. I would love to hear about that. We have another question left here. Let's see. Xanos wants to know, do off-world beings use money or any form of commerce?
No, it's shared. Everything, right? That like when they were in their infancy, in a sense, it's there. Some of the tribes that weren't connected and everything would have a monetary system, but they found it to be useless, because if they just share the stuff, and so they had a very early on in their species, they just collaborated with everything and helped each other. So there's no monetary system whatsoever. I have to kind of explain that to them here. And one time I asked the captain, I said, how do we elevate our consciousness to a point, that would be worthy of contact? And he kind of laughed and he says, well, simple, because we were talking about the monetary system too. He goes, just make everybody rich, and money will have no value. Then people will start to contribute to each other.
All right. And this question came in, and this is when you're talking about the dimensions and the different realities. This is what we actually talked about yesterday, a question that came up. So Blue Pac-Man 13 was asking, is they saying, what is your stance on the Mandela effect? And does it tie into this topic in any way?
Remind me of the Mandela effect.
That's where something happened in this timeline, but then, people remember it differently, like Mandela dying in prison when he didn't actually die in prison. So they theorized that he did die in prison in a different timeline.
It's kind of interesting. I haven't really thought of it that way, but, we can alter our timeline, or our perception of the timeline that we are on, or when we merge into another plane of existence. So, I wouldn't know how to quite answer that, but I'm sure there would be an explanation for that, because it is possible.
Yeah, I think the reason why that came back up, that question, was because you were giving the description of all the things happening in the different realities, right? And so I think that's why they brought that back up. But let me see. We have,
one little point there is, like, we say we have 7 projections going on at the same time. We see his past lives or future lives and such. If something really epic occurs to one, where they advance their whatever you want to call their mind or their being, then that also ripples down. It'll affect the other ones, because it's all piece of the same essence that's on the consciousness that they're projecting with.
Okay. And let's see who we can pick next. Miss Catherine Jones is asking, have you ever encountered mantis beings?
Mantis beings. Well, that would be part of the bug type beings. And it's just not a thing where the humanoids interact with those types of beings. it's when I say human type beings, I mean people of the realm, the different species. The humanoid type people are able to communicate fluidly and understand and advance a conversation, where the bug type people, like I was explaining, are more of like an insect or hive type mind. They work together in unison, and the only connection that they have really is natural law, not breaking anything or changing anything or destroying anything, but to advance it in a commutative way.
All right. Welcome to the show. Major Lee is asking what physics are behind craft being bigger on the inside than their outer dimensions.
Well, that's a really big subject because physics in space is quite different than it is here, and it changes also. So that may be an after effect where it's something like when I'm on that the main ship, it's massive. The colonies that they have are absolutely incredibly large. It's like they have a forest in it, with a river running through it, those sort of things, like mall type areas and things. And I mean, just anything you can pretty much imagine can exist within a colony. That's one of the things that they don't understand about us, why we're trying to get to Mars or back to the moon, rather than creating a colony around it so that we can come and go as we please. But I've been to the colonies, different species colonies, and it's absolutely incredible.
All right. We have the Andromedan asking, do the Plagarians have a commanding captain, or is it that the ship takes them to anywhere?
A commanding cap. Oh, well, they can choose where they want to go. And I label them by like captain or commander, that sort of thing, just for it to make sense in my own head. But they'll have certain specific people that control, where to and from they go. There's a hierarchy. There's delegates and things like that that's associated with it. Also, like Sam Jess is what I call a queen. They don't have a word for queen, but basically she's a spokesperson for the people. So, when you look at it that way, and everything is commutative in a sense, in order to do just about anything, they work together and they use combined information, just like when they do a terraform of a planet they chose, right, to do. Well, millions and millions and millions of beings will analyze and put things together. And within a week or so, they've already got a plan what species will, be able to use it for the most, and, what type of animals and all that sort of thing. So, maybe that answers your question. There is a hierarchy, but it's not very strict.
All right. And we have Kira I am asking, do you feel connected to the angels on your mission with the children? Are you guided by beings on that mission?
It's something inherent, I guess, within me, because I've seen the evil and I've seen what they do to these little kids, and it really hurts. Here's an example of like the connection, and that is that these children, like I have a lot of ex-military and contractors that volunteer. I don't have anybody paid, not even me, in my organization. The books fund it basically, and some donors, some wonderful donors. But as far as like they have PTSD, a lot of these guys are broken, and girls that are broken when they come to me. And so I have to be very careful about who I allow to work with us. And the ones that are suffering from PTSD, I don't know how this happens, but when after their first rescue or second, they no longer have the effect of the PTSD. And the only thing that I can think of is that memories that created, or those memories that created the PTSD, are replaced with one of absolute unconditional love. Because when you do this and you do it from the heart and the love, right, it heals everything. It's it's an incredible experience. So are there angels with me? Kind of feel like it, right? But that's not my motive. My motive is and see, we're the best in the world at what we do. And the reason for that is we don't obey by any rules other than, one rule.
Yeah. Awesome. And it all goes back to love, right? At the end of the day. Yeah. So I love that. And I knew this prior to you coming on. It was one of the things that was like, okay, wow, he's took the time to do that, which says a lot about the other things that you do. So I had a question that came in that pertains to sort of this, and it was Derek Galloway, we write at ZG, asking, do you believe that some NHI are involved with taking children, some of the missing children, like David Paulides reports?
NHI, what's that?
Non-human intelligence, so aliens essentially.
None of the people of the realm, and I think that's pretty consistent. What they do is, well, in a way, they take them in, right? It's a what you call it, a soul agreement, where they don't interrupt or interfere with their lives here or the people that's with them, but they'll take them to teach them, or they'll visit them and they teach them, and they also tell them that they cannot be teachers, that they just have to live. Kind of like the table of ancients, right? So I've had so many reflections on this, but they're just supposed to do and be. And you'll see, like, there was a video that was taken down a long time ago. This little Chinese girl, she's walking through this place with all these dead flowers. As she walks by, they come to life. But there's multiple videos that are very similar to this, that you'll see that's happening by children. But they're taught they're not going to be teachers, never to teach, only to show, right? To be an example for others. And what the idea is behind that is to raise our consciousness, in a sense, because if we can find that through love, the love of these individuals and the beings and their actions will help create, like the 100th monkey, right? One person sees it and wants to emulate it, another and another and another, until hopefully, within 50 or 100 years from now, we'll have a consciousness that's quite different from now.
All right, awesome stuff. And let's see, we asked that one here. The Andromedan wants to know, do they have blue beans in the Plejarians?
Blue beans?
Yeah, blue beans, beings.
I've seen some species that have a blue. I've also seen white. The Plejarians themselves, I'll notice that, like, I'll see one that looks sort of Asian and one that has more of an African look to them. But they all have basically the color of skin as I do, which is kind of an off-white, the majority of the Plejarians. But I've seen so many different colors, so different in many ways. I mean, there was an event that we had where they made this, like, each ship got fitted in order to fit together because there was this major meeting of the realm, and I got to witness it. And it was kind of a weird experience because there were so many people there of different, species, and they all had an example on their ship, but they interlocked these ships together. And I was never able to see the entire thing, but they explained to me that it was over 2,000 miles in diameter, a saucer. And I actually had a moment of like a panic attack almost, where I'm in this vehicle that you go to move from one place to another during this conference or whatever you want to call it. And I was able to stop in the movement, right? So I'm above it and I'm looking down at it. And I was just like overwhelmed. It's like, is this even real? What I was witnessing, it was just so overwhelming. Suddenly I was like hard to breathe and stuff. And then I just started witnessing the absolute beauty of everything that I was seeing. That was just, that's what I say, when you start to have these experiences, there's a way to enter in, right? Which I talked about was the sensing. There's some other ways too, but basically it all comes from love. And when you have the love and you get out of the brain and enter into the mind, then you are unlimited, the potential, and you don't expect to see something, or you don't try to find a reference to explain something. You just allow it to be you, and it changes everything.
Awesome, man. Very awesome. Super Crazy Movie Geek is asking, do any aliens have customs that make you feel uncomfortable?
I'm trying to think. Not really. The people are unique. Each of the different species are unique, but they have a similarity between all of them, due to natural laws. So they lean into certain ways and talk in certain ways. They all can speak English to me too, which I was like, how does that work, right? And everything. And so I did get into that for a while. Were showing me, I forget what they call synetics or something like that, where they have like a metal board and they vibrate it and it creates from sound these different shapes. Well, like if you look at the Roswell ship where it had those symbols on there, that's the signature. That's the name of their species. And a lot of the different species will do this. And that's how they communicate. And with using sound as a communicator, all languages have a certain rhythm to it and a certain pronunciation for certain things. You know, like when something scares us, we scream, right? When we're in love, we get quiet, that sort of thing. And so you can actually communicate with animals. Every being can communicate by using that sound method. And it's a universal language in the realm.
That is actually very compelling, because I know exactly what you're talking about. The shapes that every time by the same frequency, they create these shapes. They use the sand. That would be a great way to communicate, just thinking about that. So that makes a whole lot of sense. And let's see. We asked this one, Miss Captain Jones asking, what are your thoughts on which species carry out cattle mutilations?
I haven't seen any evidence of that, and it's really never been an interest to me. And I don't really understand it myself. I haven't seen any interest in it at all from the people of the realm. So, you know, if it was asking me a personal question, and then I would say, well, maybe you look at the military.
I've heard that too. I've heard people say that too. Let me see. Dominic is asking, what do they say about dreams?
Dreams is reality. There's no difference. A dream, a vision, or a physical appearance, because we're a projection, right? And so all these things actually have merit, and they're true. They're real. It's just the way we perceive them with the brain. If we was to perceive them with the mind, then it's pure. And it's more understandable. It's kind of like when you're in a dream, all the people that you see there are you. They're an aspect of oneself. Like if you see George Bush, whoever it may be, whoever that person would mean to you is the aspect that they're projecting to you in the scenario of the dream. So as far as what is a dream? Dream is reality. It's just another aspect of ourself. That's why I say when, I used to use the word our soul contract, right? How we want to experience something, but and that's the way I write my books. I write what I know at the time because it evolves. And so your experience on a contact, you cannot be in the brain, because in the brain, you're going to perceive it's going to be this way, or it's going to be physical, or I'm going to see it in a dream in a sense. But the reality is that whatever it is that you seek, your soul or essence that's in this consciousness is what you're going to be comfortable with experiencing. It'll never be a bad thing if you're not trying to perceive what it is, and you're not using the brain. You use the mind, and the mind is purity.
That is actually awesome. And we have about a minute left, so be just enough time for you to once again let everybody know where they can find you and find your book.
Yeah, the book's on Amazon. It's Plegarin, Plegarjern Diaries, and it's on Amazon. It's either under William Saldausky or Zaysan Saldausky, or just Plegarin Diaries. All the books are on there, and there's more to come. And like I say, all the money that comes in from that goes directly into the quest to save these children. And the quest is the quest ECSS at endingchildsexslavery.org or endingchildsexslavery.org will get you to my website. It has my contact information. Each one of my books on the back, I have my contact information also. So, yeah.
All right. And Zaysan, it's been a pleasure talking to you tonight. Got to really get to know you tonight, which is cool. And I want to set something else back up. So I'll go ahead and reach out.
Absolutely. It's awesome.
All right. We'll talk soon. Take care.
Conversations
All right.
that move the needle.
You're listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio.
You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
All right, guys, we are clear, and we're going to go ahead and take our final break, or second to final break of the night. So here we go. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Space Out Radio after hour number 3. Yes, we have Steve Stockton, Tales Untold, Missing Person Mysteries. Then we have Tim J stepping in for Drew Banky with the after hours wrap up. We're coming back right about now. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio, the after hours radio show, after hour number 3. Me, your host, Mr. Rob G. Awesome stuff this hour. We want to thank our guest once again, Zaysan Saldausky, but we can just call him Z. He said it's cool. Hours 1 and 2, if you miss any of that, jump in the archive, youtube.com/at Spaced Out Radio. Now we get into Steve Stockton Tales Untold Missing Person Mysteries, and then Tim James stepping in for Drew Banky with the after hours wrap up. And yeah, I agree. Love was in the house tonight, feeling it. And yeah, that's a great vibe, right, to have, and definitely how you want to kind of, live by that rule, right? Always put love out there in the air, and it comes back to you. It does, believe me. As we go ahead and get ready to jump into Tales Untold Missing Person Mysteries, and Steve Stockton always plays a great part of the After Hours radio show. We appreciate him for that. And here we go.
Welcome to Tales Untold and Missing Persons Mysteries on Spaced Out Radio's After Hours. My name is Steve Stockton, and I'm here to take you on a journey of mysteries, legends, and true stories. Come, join me on this strange adventure of Tales Untold and Missing Person Mysteries. Now we have Connie Johnson, who went missing on Big Fog Mountain in 2018. Connie Johnson was a 76-year-old who had worked as a wilderness ranger at the Moose Creek Ranger Station for the U.S. Forest Service. She was also a Selway Bitterroot Foundation member and often led backcountry tours for young people and other groups. Her friends described her as an experienced outdoors person who could survive emergencies. Connie worked as a camp cook for Ritchie Outfitters. The area was very remote with no roads and only accessible by horse or on foot. Connie was last seen on October 2, 2018, by hunters. According to County Sheriff Doug Giddings, the hunters had radio contact with Connie the next day. Still, they could not understand what she was saying as the radio transmission was weak. When they returned to the camp on October 5, Connie and her dog, Ace, were gone. Chris Adkins, a former colleague, says, "It's reconcilable. You know, what everyone is dealing with this because, like you said, this isn't like some pilgrim's first rodeo. This is a woman who spent the last 25 years of her life, most of them, on foot in the wilderness, alone, doing her wilderness range work. And if there's anybody who has a skill set that positions them to beat this, it's Connie." A thorough search was conducted to locate Connie, involving searchers on foot and tracking canines. The U.S. Air Force, Idaho National Guard, and Clearwater County Backcountry Helicopter Rescue Team used FLIR heat technology from aircraft to aid the search. Despite the efforts, Connie was not found, and the search was called off on October 16, 2018. Connie's dog, Ace, was found 3 weeks later at the Moose Creek Ranger Station, which is about 15 miles away from the camp. However, Connie was not with him. The Rangers examined Ace, provided him with food, and attempted to search for Connie with his help, but they still were unable to find her. Connie's daughter said she could only speculate about what happened to her mother, but did not believe her disappearance was intentional. "I think that she was enjoying the outdoors, which she loves, and something happened. The weather came up. She fell. I don't know, but I think that she got surprised. Given the temperature, given the lack of time, given the lack of signs of her, and the fact that Ace is not with her." Next up, Michelle Vanek, who went missing from Mount of the Holy Cross in 2005. Michelle Vanek, a 35-year-old married mother of 4, attempted to climb Mount of the Holy Cross in the northern Sawatch Range of the Rocky Mountains with a friend on October 24, 2005. However, Michelle became tired and complained of a headache while hiking along the Halo route and decided to rest. Her partner continued climbing towards the summit and planned to meet Michelle on his way down. Michelle was an experienced marathon runner, but may not have been fully prepared for the physical and mental challenges of the Halo route which requires hours of traversing over loose rock in an expansive, unmarked wilderness. Nate Goldberg, a local resident, was one of more than 700 people who searched for Michelle for 8 days. Goldberg says while Michelle and her hiking partner set out to make it to the top of Mount Holy Cross, they unlikely intended to take the Halo route. According to Goldberg, it was the summer that they were putting in the new outhouse up there. So when they arrived at the trailhead in the morning, it was still dark, and there was a big crane up there. I believe that they got disoriented, and instead of getting on the Half Moon Pass trail for the traditional route, they got on the Fall Creek trail and didn't realize it until they got to the top of Notch Mountain. At that point, they said, "We're already up at Notch. You can see the top of Holy Cross. Let's just do this Halo route." When you're looking across and seeing that route, it doesn't seem that far. Nearly 2 decades later, in August of 2022, a father and son hiking in the area discovered one of Michelle's hiking boots that had evidently been there for a long time. The leather was almost completely gone, but the sole was intact. A forensic investigation concluded it was Michelle's boot, and with this discovery, another trip to the area with a more thorough search was planned once weather permitted. On August 25, 2022, Scott Beebe of Vail Mountain Rescue set out to look for Michelle with his dog, Stryker, along with other cadaver dogs and their handlers. No further trace of Michelle was found. Investigators questioned her hiking partner, but eventually closed the case with no solid evidence that any crime had occurred. Ed Katauskas, leader of the Vail Mountain Rescue's canine team, stated, "You hope that, especially after 20 years, we're going to find something. But unfortunately, it's just the way it works with recovery operation. Nature's very good at taking us back to the earth, and it is amazing how quickly that happens in the environment. You just disappear." And now we have Jack Thomas, who went missing from the Sawtooth Range in 2016. In 2016, a 66-year-old hiker, Jack Thomas, went missing while exploring the Sawtooth Range in the Rocky Mountains. Despite the efforts of Boise and Elmore County officials, who searched for Jack for 2 weeks near the Queens River trailhead, he was not found. Jack had used a satellite GPS device to share his location on June 15th, but failed to return as planned the next day. A 2-week search for Jack ended without finding a trace of the missing hiker. 7 years later, his remains were finally found. According to Boise County Sheriff Scott Turner, backcountry hikers located some of Jack's personal items in late July of 2023. They shared the GPS location of a wallet, clothing, and a hiking boot with Elmore County officials, who determined the location was over the Boise County line. Thanks to the recovered items, Turner stated they were 99.9% certain they'd located Jack. Turner said it took a few weeks to coordinate a search effort. The agency hired Sawtooth Outfitters to lead Boise County Sheriff's Detective Max Sprague, Boise County Coroner Pam Garlock, U.S. Forest Service law enforcement personnel, Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue officials, and a cadaver dog to the site where the items were found. In an interview, the medical examiner said she could accurately identify Jack's remains due to the serial number on a medical device used in a knee replacement. She said Jack probably succumbed to hypothermia due to a fall. Next up, Ian O'Brien, who went missing from Hesperus Mountain in 2023. Ian O'Brien, a 28-year-old experienced outdoorsman and former field guide for Open Sky Wilderness Therapy and camp counselor, set out on a solo hike on June 24, 2023, to explore a path to the peak of Hesperus Mountain. He was intimately familiar with the rugged wilderness surrounding the area. Ian texted a picture of himself at the summit to his partner, Beth Henshaw, at 6 p.m. Soon after that, his cell phone and GPS tracker went dead. When he failed to return that night, Beth and friends Ashley and Mike Higgs alerted authorities. Crews began looking for Ian almost as soon as he went missing. Search efforts included dozens of boots on the ground, drones, canines, all-terrain vehicles, and multiple helicopters, including Air Force Blackhawks. Ian packed only essentials for a day trip: shorts, a tank top, his cell phone, GPS, a day pack with snacks, water, and his epilepsy medication. On September 2, 2023, at 1:40 p.m., the Montezuma County Sheriff's Office was notified that human remains had been discovered by two persons fishing in the remote area of the West Mancos River in the Echo Basin area of the San Juan National Forest, which was an area that had been extensively searched. On September 7th, the Montezuma County coroner determined the cause and manner of death to be accidental drowning. Ian's family said in an online statement, "While this is not the outcome any of us wanted, we are at peace that we have found him, and it gives us closure." Next, Adam Fusilier, Reynolds Mountain, 2023. In August of 2023, Adam Fusilier, a 32-year-old Castle Pines, Colorado rock climber, attempted a popular off-trail climb in the Logan Pass area of Glacier National Park. Rangers discovered his parked and unoccupied vehicle at Logan Pass. When Adam did not return as scheduled, Rangers were notified and a ground search was initiated on August 30. Hikers who had contact with Adam were able to share information about his location with the National Park Service ground searchers, but the search was cut short due to inclement weather. When conditions improved, aerial and ground searches using canines were conducted. Unfortunately, Adam was found deceased on September 1st, 2023. In a press release, officials stated, although this was not the desired outcome, the conclusion of the search was brought about in a more timely manner because of the efforts of all who contributed. At the time of this video, Adam's cause of death remains under investigation. Next up, Julian Sands, Baldy Bowl area, 2023. Julian Sands, a 65-year-old actor, went missing on Friday, January 13, 2023, around 7:30 p.m. He'd gone hiking in the Baldy Bowl area of Mount Baldy, but did not return. Julian was an experienced climber and knew the potential dangers of hiking in such challenging and strenuous terrain. Officials found his car in a nearby parking lot, presumably where he'd left it before starting his hike. Search and rescue crews began an urgent search for Julian, but ground crews had to stop searching the next day due to the risk of avalanches and poor trail conditions. Inclement weather also hindered rescuers, making it challenging to conduct ground searches for extended periods. Nathan Campos, a spokesman for the Sheriff's Department, revealed that even experienced hikers struggle to navigate the area because it's so hazardous. In multiple interviews, Julian had expressed his love for hiking and the mountains. During one interview in 2020, he stated that he feels the happiest when near the summit of a mountain on a beautiful chilly morning. Julian once said, "People who do not climb mountains assumed it was about a great heroic sprint to the summit and ego. But actually, it's the reverse." He continued, "It's about supplication and sacrifice and humility when you go to these mountains. It's not such a celebration of oneself, but the eradication of one's self-consciousness. And so on these walks, you lose yourself. You become a vessel of energy and harmony, hopefully, with your environment." Sadly, on June 27, 2023, officials identified human remains previously found on Mount Baldy as Julian's. The cause of Julian's death could not be determined, however, due to the condition of the remains and inconclusive findings from the coroner's investigation.
All right, that is Steve Stockton tells Untold Missing Person Mysteries. Yeah, someone said it's sad, and they're always sad stories because you realize these are more than just stories. These are accounts of people who have gone missing. Yeah, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into our next segment of the night, which is the After Hours Wrap-Up. And filling in for Drew Banky, we have UFO Tim James. So let's bring him in.
You're an irredeemable monster!
Come here, I'm gonna eat you! Get in my belly!
Kick him in the nard! He doesn't have nard! Go in, go in! That man's got nard! You're a monster!
Oh my God. You are so hilarious. You just have me dying all the time. Thanks so much for coming in and joining me tonight. Filling in for Drew Banky.
For sure, man. No, I always like coming in. Coming in the show.
See, and Drew Banky will be back next week. So then we're gonna have to figure out another reason to get you to come in on the weekends. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think of something here.
We'll work it
But
out.
yeah, we had a guest, great guest here, Zaysan Saldausky. We call him Z because he said we can, and it's cool. But yeah, audience really resonated with what he talked about today. They're clamoring for more, and we're attempting to set that up. What did you think about the conversation? Did you have any opinions or anything that stood out to you? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, actually, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off like that.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, this subject is I'm super interested in. I think that I am so far from actually getting to that point where I can understand it. Like between him and Geraldine Orozco and stuff like that, it's so interesting to me, the different levels and the different planes. And I know that my wife's huge into it. She's learning shamanism and stuff like that, and been studying it for a long time, and is very, very in tune, I guess you could say, with so many levels. And she was trying to describe to me the same thing about, time not existing and stuff like that. And I was just like, desperately want to know how that works. And I think I frustrate myself by not understanding how it works. And yeah, just super, super cool. I'm really, really very intrigued by this. And, especially when he was talking about the golden ball and going through your head into your feet, into your head, and then feeling that one point where unconditional love, where nothing could change that. It was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. Yeah. Click. The light went on. So super, super awesome. I love this stuff.
And you point something out right there that's very important. You said click and the light goes on. And I think for a lot of people, that may not have happened in the moment for a lot of things because the information was coming rapid fire. But I think once you sit on it and you marinate for a little bit, then that click will happen and that light bulb will turn on. Because I'm real time. I'm sitting here, the bandwidth is not as wide as and it's just coming and it's like, okay, decipher.
Right.
But I think a lot of this comes with like even for me rewatching the show afterwards, like, okay, for the most part, I understood that a lot of the things he was saying were things that we already talk about here on this channel as far as the perspective, the love and light. But it was just being presented in a different fashion. So,
Right.
For some, you may need to sit on it for a moment. And I think this is one of those conversations where that happens, where you may be on team rewatch it again, and then you get a bunch of those light bulb moments during the conversation.
For sure. And I think, for me personally, I think what happens with me is I'm afraid that I'm not going to understand it. And there's only one way to understand it. And I have to back myself up sometimes because there's more than one way to get to the rock concert. There's the bus and there's the taxi. I think that like comparing Geraldine and him, I think they're both talking the same end result, and getting there is, you might not get on the bus, but you might get on the taxi. And it was like my brain kind of went, hang on a second. It's not an absolute one way. I mean, there's obviously the love and the opening up, I understand. But it was almost like I get in this little panic mode where I don't think I'm going to get this. And that's really weird. But yeah, it's like, am I going to miss out on this? I don't want to miss out on this. And I, like you said earlier, desperately would love to feel that level and feel those planes and because that's kind of like the person I am. I really like that intuitiveness and the feeling and understanding what
Mhm.
is happening and not for any other reason but to just enlighten myself, right? And yeah, so
And that's the thing. I mean, when you have it's like a code reader, right? It is understanding someone's delivery. Once you have deciphered the code and the way to translate what was being said into something that maybe a little more palatable for the individual, then next time you hear them, then you don't have to do all that because it's automatic. And so that's why I can't wait for the next conversation, because I think everyone will be kind of locked into the expectation of things that might be delivered. And because there was so much we didn't get to go into, and so, but that's actually works out for the better because it just saves it for the next show and make it that much better.
Yeah, I agree. No, very good show. When I first started watching it, I was like, oh no, I can't, like, that fear, that anxiety built up in me. But yeah, a very, very good guest. And like I say, it's one of those things that yeah, you either you're into it, you're not into it. I'm not, I'm not pushing anything anywhere, but boy, oh boy, I was just like, I'm getting these little flashes. It's like, okay. So,
Yeah. And you bring up a point there about everyone not being into a certain particular subject or topic or what someone may be saying in the moment. And, that's why I think I appreciated the fact that he was open to reiterating some of the things that he was saying and to clarify and to try to make sense of some things, because you'll find some guests get into a flustered sort of state of mind where they feel maybe because you're asking to clarify that they're being attacked in some way, right? And so, I just wanted to it was really cool that he understood that for some out there may need to be a little more breaking down of what's being talked about here in the moment. Like, not everyone's going to get it immediately. So that was very much appreciated. And I'm always open to someone that does that, because for me, when they don't, it's a red flag for me, and it makes it kind of weird. You know what I mean? It just makes the energy a little weird. So I think he was pretty much open to anything that anyone asked tonight, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, very cool. Like he quoted, he homers it, right? He homers her down in it, and that's perfect. And I think that the message that he was trying to get out there and to share it, not to force feed it, like you said, he's just there to share what. And I think that that's important too, because we all learn at different levels, and yeah, I was super impressed with him, and I was like, oh yeah, you got to get him back on.
And see, sometimes I watch back shows. Sometimes I don't watch them all back, the ones that we do here, but I actually watch Dave more than I watch myself. Isn't that crazy? I should be watching where I can improve, but I'm watching Dave all the time. So, and you, sir, as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're doing great work, Tim. You're doing great
Thanks,
work.
man.
But yeah. So this will be one of those ones where I get to sit down and kind of look through it again, and that way it lets me know what we need to do for the next time that we connect. But I forgot who recommended Zaysan, but we've been back and forth for, I'd say, probably 5 months now.
Oh, wow.
Trying to get something lined up. Yeah, I reached out to him way back, and we just keep missing each other. Then the stars aligned, and it was great. And then coming off a night where unfortunately their guest last night couldn't make it, so this was a really good makeup show for everyone, even though they said they still enjoyed yesterday. But there were some people who were really wanting to see Rex Bear, and at this point Rex said he during the show he reached out, he apologized, said that some things came up, and offered to reschedule a date. So we're going to do that. So everybody out there who thought you missed Rex Bear, he has said that he will be setting a date, and I'll let you know as soon as that happens, as we have about 15 seconds left before we go to break. You guys, you make sure you don't go anywhere. We only have a half hour left right here on the After Hours radio show before we shut it down for the weekend, and then I won't see you till next week. So let's make it count, guys. Don't go anywhere, and make sure that you are right back here as we wrap it up, because we'll finish this talk and then we'll get into some UFO and weird news, and then I'll say goodnight. See you guys in a minute. yes, we're clear. And we were talking yesterday, Tim. Von Patrick had put in the chat, if you remember, about where I had to say that the Eagles would win by 55. And they damn near did, Tim. I was sitting there at halftime, like 24-0. Like, did Von Patrick literally sit there and predict the final score of the Super Bowl?
That'd be something.
That would be something. So I was hoping Von came back in tonight. I'm sure he's celebrating because I guess he probably bet on the team, or I don't know what it was, but I'm sure he's really, really happy that they blew out the Chiefs. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
It was bad, man. It was bad.
Well, I didn't get to watch much of the game because I was doing some stuff around the house here and whatever. And the Seahawks weren't in it. So big surprise. But yeah, it was like my wife comes out and she says, "You seen the score?" I was like, "No." I was like, "Wow, what the heck?"
I was like, this is not a game. And luckily I had some fresh off the grill barbecue to kind of take my mind off whatever was going on. So I got to do that. But then I had to rush out, and so I missed the second half. I was like, if anyone can do it, it's Patrick Mahomes. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna check in on the game right before the show starts, and it's gonna be tie game, or it's gonna be going for the winning drive. And it wasn't. It was actually pretty bad.
Yeah,
so
those are always the worst. Any sort of championship game, be it Stanley Cup, FIFA, it doesn't matter, whatever you're playing, and the hype's there, and then it's an absolute disaster of a blowout. What an anticlimactic way for
and not only that, but we're talking about the team that I'm not gonna say should have, but was expected to win, going for a three-peat, going for some history here. So a lot of things were on the line, and they just I don't know. I think maybe it's a situation where you get too complacent and like, hey, we always win, we're gonna win, and you kind of come in there without really changing up your game plan. And everyone has been studying you for the last few Super Bowls. All these teams have been looking at you like, how did you pull that out?
Yeah, exactly.
So they know what to do.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. There's people that are paid to do that, right? So
Exactly. Not on the level like a Bill Belichick where you send somebody into the stadium to watch practices, or maybe they did. Let's start the conspiracy here.
You never know, man.
Exactly. We had Wise Ass McCoy come in the building saying, "Hi, Mr. Rob G." I said it's so dramatic, Wise Ass, because it's a wise ass sort of name. So I definitely just had to do that. But thank you for coming in. Brand new name, too. So that's awesome. If you would mind, if you haven't, consider hitting that subscribe button and the like button. Matter of fact, once again, while we're on break, can we take one moment? I'm going to look right at you when I say this. Can we take one moment? Go right under the screen on YouTube, hit the little like button, and let's get this one over 100 before the show ends. That would be awesome. You guys really love the guests. I think we can make it happen. I don't know where the likes are right now. I have no clue. I don't get to see until after. But that would be nice. That would be nice. Show your appreciation, and he'll be back for sure.
Yeah, we're at 72.
Oh, 72. Okay, yeah, let's get them up.
We could do this.
170 watching. Okay, and Joanne hit the like. Thank you, and Joanne. She hit the like. Let's keep doing that.
Had to double check to make sure I did it. I had.
Yeah, and I always do it, but after the show. So
yeah, of course.
Let me see. Oh, Jedi. I don't know, Drake is Okay, that's about music beef. Let me see. Always. Okay, 81, 19 away. We have about we still got 30 minutes left, so we got time. But yeah, it would be awesome, guys, if we could get to that point. Looks like we're at 82. We're counting them down. You guys are doing great. We really do appreciate you guys with the immediate response. So we have 100 watching on YouTube roughly, and so the rest are watching from X. We're coming back here in 5 seconds. Here we go. All right, everybody. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show. We're in the third and final hour, last 30 minutes of the show, which means we're going to continue with the After Hours wrap up, and then we're going to cut into the UFO and weird news before we just end the show tonight, guys. It's going to be sad. I won't see you till next week, but if you missed any of the awesome show tonight, hop in the archive, youtube.com/at Spaced Out Radio, and catch up on what you missed. So, yeah, jumping back into the conversation, Tim, here we are. We're at Sunday. This is, next time I sit here in this seat, unless I'm filling in for Dave this week, next time I sit in front of these folks here, these awesome folks here, Anna Paulina Luna will have stepped out and said what she's going to say. Have you heard anything else on that? Because I know I was looking at something. Some people were giving other perspectives that we hadn't even considered. Ross Coulthard, I think, came out and said he was really kind of pointing to Donald Trump's, someone in the administration, high in the administration, kind of being very interested in the topic, and that this announcement may actually be aligning with something like that. And hopefully we get it tomorrow morning, because he said next week, so that could be literally by the time we wake up in the morning where the whole anticipation thing is over. Did you hear any other point of views on that in the last day?
Excuse me. No, I haven't heard really anything. I mean, I chalk it up to being the weekend. I would go through it and stuff. And I mean, speculation, I think, is kind of come in the same way that you and I have been talking about it the last couple of days and stuff. But nothing really. I mean, going around in my head trying to figure out, is this, what's going on here? Is there a bunch of lanes? What are we doing? But yeah, nothing really pertinent. Just like I say, speculation, like you and I've spoke about. But yeah, I'm really hoping too that this is going to get done sooner than later. And again, using your phrase, expecting a little and being surprised by hopefully more than just a little, right? But
yeah, and essentially, and that's the thing about UFO news. And now that I have this UFO news show that I do, I find that there's hills and valleys, right? As far as data that comes in on things that are relevant to or even worth speaking about, right? Yeah. And we never know what the next thing is going to be until it kind of comes out of nowhere and hits everybody over the head. So,
yeah, for sure.
There's nothing on the horizon.
No, and you're right. And that's that's, I think, one of the difficult parts about reporting in this field about UFOs and stuff is that there are highs and lows. And then what'll happen is I find too, is when I'm researching and doing stuff like that for the show and just for my own personal, interest, is that you'll get caught. And I shouldn't say you guys, I get caught by, oh, okay, there's a cool headline. What's this about? And then you go back and it's an article that was put out like a month and a half ago, but they've changed the headline. And it's like, dang, guys, like, yeah. And so this is the way that they fill the voids, or whatever else is going on. But yeah, it's a hard topic to cover at times, and and because it's everybody's these clicks and stuff that are going on, and we were talking about it after hours the other night. These new clicks that are happening and what have you. It's who's saying what, and it seems to be these little factions that have their key, not leader, but they have their key focal point in the group. And that drives me nuts right now, because they're all trying to outdo each other, but they're kind of telling the same story. And it's like, oh, we need something new. And I'm hoping that you're right. I'm hoping that Luna comes out with, something interesting that we can sink our teeth into and move forward, instead of getting a Bob's Big Boy showing up with a nothing burger.
Or just I'm just ready for the next thing. And
Yeah.
I'm already saying that 2025 has already started out to be just a great year, and if we just stopped with nothing else happening for the rest of the year, this is still one of the biggest eventful years so far. So I mean, you kind of, I guess you should be happy about that, right? And really just like, hey, if we do get something great, but hey, it's been great so far. But you're always craving for that more and that next thing that comes out, that morsel of UFO deliciousness could be coming next. But there is something here, and I'm just gonna read this because it's on Twitter, and I received a notification about it during the show, and I was trying to read it, but it says breaking President Trump Secret Service paid Hollywood director Michael Bay. Okay, no, this is something else. Okay, that's just strictly political. Okay. I received a notification. I thought it had something to do with some of the other stuff, but apparently not. And it's under UFO Twitter, which is even weirder.
Yeah.
Will you search that UFO Twitter, hashtag UFO Twitter?
Yeah, I can look it up for sure. I'm usually on that, and where you get some of the stuff that UFO Twitter. Yeah, let's have a quick peek. Spell it correctly.
This is where usually you'll be able to pick some things up. So that's a tip for other people out there too. If you use X and you go to the little search bar, you type in the hashtags, whatever's trending, you'll actually get a lot of things that will show up. You'll see a lot of my shows because I use that hashtag UFO Twitter as well.
For sure.
But
hang on. Yeah. 4 hours ago, breaking UFO news. Trump administration weighs UFO transparency. And guess who's there? It's Ross Coulthart. But yeah, so, well, it's an actual interview. So Brichette underwater, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So yeah, that's the only thing. It's just a headline. Breaking UFO news. Trump administration weighs UFO transparency. So I guess Ross Coulthart will be involved in this somehow. But who knows? Who knows?
What was there was a Tim Burchett headline that was a part of that too.
Underwater UFO as big as a football field.
Yes, that's okay. What do you think about that? Have you even delved into USOs? Like, what do you think about that?
I believe it. I think that, some of the stuff that we've seen, that we've supposed to have seen or whatever, the Tic Tacs and all that sort of stuff. And just, it's that spot. And I've talked about it before on the show, is that it's that spot. Everybody looks up, understandable, makes complete sense. But people are all saying, and there's people saying that there's beings on Earth, and there's, and we've all heard stories about it. So some of them live in mountains, and some of them live in, in a different plane. Why not in the ocean, right? I believe that there's something down underneath there. I don't believe there's an Iranian mothership off the coast of the Atlantic, but I can't see why there wouldn't be. It's plausible. I guess that's the word I'm looking. It's definitely plausible, and I would like to think, that there's stuff happening there for sure.
And I had a soundbite where Lou Elizondo, this is during this book release press run, he had sat down and talked to Joe Rogan and mentioned that he saw video that was from a helicopter. Joe Rogan was like, "What's the most compelling thing that you've seen?" And he was like, "Well, it was from a helicopter looking down at an oil derrick I guess in the Gulf of Mexico." And he said he saw this object that was underwater that kind of shot right past the oil derrick, and it was larger than the oil derrick. And if to paint the picture there for people, that's if you remember Armageddon, when they were working on the huge oil platform, something under the water bigger than that kind of just flew right past it under the water. That is bananas. That is just insane to think about, because it sounds like in size that it'd be like those motherships that a lot of people talk about, elusive motherships that I haven't seen yet. But yeah, football field, like Tim Burchett is saying, larger than the oil derrick, like Lou Elizondo is saying. Is it that the motherships, which makes sense, that all these motherships that people see are sitting right there in the ocean for, until it's time to do something? Or
yeah, it's such a goofy old saying, man, but I still believe it. You can't see the forest for the trees. Sometimes things are so huge or right in front of your face. They're invisible, right? And yeah, I buy into that 100%. I think that they've got to have some place to rest their heads, so to speak. Sure, they're not flying, 4 million light years back to home to go to bed. So yeah, interesting. But I've done a little bit of research on it. I'd like to learn more about it though, for sure.
And that's the thing about it, is even some of the largest things that we've built get swallowed up by the sea.
Yep.
Just gone from, like it was never there.
Yep.
Huge cruise ships, huge, just the biggest things we built. And they just bloop right underwater, just completely gone forever. And it's like, okay, if something that big that we built could go under there, you just got to imagine what, it's just, whew. And then I feel sorry. I feel sorry for the guys that have to work out there, like the fishermen. I could never, knowing what I know now, I could never go take a job like that or do anything out there in the middle of anywhere, knowing that right under there is, I mean, it's bad enough there's whales and submarines. That's scary enough.
Yep.
Oh,
no thanks, man.
Yeah,
keep these feet on dry land.
As a service member, like, you have to stay out there because it's your duty, like you're on duty. So I just wonder how, what goes through the minds of some of those people that do understand that there's something to this, and they know that stuff is right under there, something that could really literally lift up and lift your ship out of the water, is from what it sounds like.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Better men than me and women than me.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's just something to think about. Maybe we'll get more information. Maybe one of these things will just lift up out the water and we'll get it on camera. So apparently they already have footage of something like that, but I would love to see it in person,
For sure.
All right, Tim. We're gonna go ahead and shut this thing down, man. It's been a long night, and we're gonna get up out of here. So I appreciate you coming in. Appreciate you filling in for Drew. I know Drew appreciates it too. And we got to fit you back in on something else, man. So have a great rest of the night. You take care.
You too. Have a good night, everybody.
All right, Tim. All right, guys. That's UFO Tim James stepping in for Drew Banky with the After Hours wrap up. Man, I don't want to go face to face with whatever is down there. Football field size, craft is crazy to even think about. And, what's inside of those craft, right? That's there's things inside of those. If they're that big, there's probably a lot of things inside of those. And like, what are they waiting for? Why do you have to have a mothership here, right? Can it come in individual Tic Tacs or individual craft? Why does it have to be the mothership? What's the purpose? Is there something nefarious there? I don't know. A lot of people, I understand love and light, but if they're hearing that those sort of numbers, you got to just ask yourself what's going on there. Maybe we'll find out. Hopefully it's all good, but we'll see. As we go ahead and get ready to wrap this thing up, because it is the end of the weekend, which means I get to finally go ahead and kick my feet up, do some relaxing, but we won't do that until we get through the UFO and weird news of the week. So let's go ahead and do that, and we'll go home, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
All right, UFO and weird news. We have a couple stories that I think will tie us up for the rest of the show. I was looking on LED Bible, which is where we get some of these weird stories, and they had it appears to be almost a shadow person sort of story. It says photos showing someone walking besides two dogs leaves people stunned after realization there's no person in it. People have been left baffled by the mind-bending image. And for those out there, the image does appear to be like the silhouette of a person in reflecting on the snow, and then two dogs essentially walking next to this. There's nothing like good old optical illusion to sharpen your problem solving skills, is there? The brain teasers allow you to put the power of your mind and eyesight to the test while helping us to understand how humans interpret visual information. Your eyes and brains work together to interpret whatever is in front of them. However, these organs are thrown for a loop when there is an optical illusion on display. Obi-Wan Kenobi said it best in 1977 Star Wars when he mused, "Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them." Take this photo of these six friends, for example, who later discovered an uninvited guest has seemingly invaded their selfie image in the strange optical illusion. Then there's a snap. Four pals drinking whiskey, which baffled a lot of people as they could only spot three of them. Or in terrifying image, and you can see it spot every woman lurking in it, unlike the majority of social media users. But the optical illusion is the one which takes the title of top dog, as people have been left stumped by what's going on with the supposed pet owner. At first glance, the image, which was shared on Reddit, seems to show two pups enjoying a snowy walk while what appears to be a hooded figure stands beside them. You can't see much else of the owner except for from what they look like they have a big coat on and have their hands stuffed in their pockets. However, not everything is as it seems, as there's actually isn't a human in the image at all. If you're struggling, you'll want to give another glance, and the alleged dog owner, you'll probably pick up on the fact that it's actually a third animal. And that is pretty strange. I wish I could show that image to you guys. You'll find it online, but it literally is the tail of a dog, which is a rounded tail, like a what do you call those, poodles, and then which is the head supposedly, and then the body of the dog is the shoulders and the torso, and then the front legs appear to be like the legs of a human being. So yeah, very strange how your eyes could play tricks on you. And I guess maybe that's something to consider when we talk about UFOs, because skeptics and people outside the community will be so quick to say that your eyes are playing tricks on you, that you didn't see really what you saw, almost like a pareidolia sort of situation. But as an experiencer, you know what you've seen, and you know what. But I'll tell you, in this photo, you could easily be fooled into thinking that this was something else. Let's see. The next story that we have here is NASA's warning. This actually came out a couple of days ago. NASA's warning as chances of major asteroid collision in 7 years increases again. Last week, scientists say we're not worried at all about the asteroid hitting Earth. Remember that asteroid capable of wiping out cities, which could smash straight into our planet and was discovered in December? Well, the chances of it doing exactly that in 7 years' time now have increased, NASA has warned. It's not the most cheery news to head into the week with, but it's also not a major cause for concern just yet anyway. Back in December, Boffins discovered an asteroid called 2024 YR4 with the telescope in Chile, which is almost 27 million miles away. Teams working at the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert Station or System Station, which is funded by NASA, estimated there was 130 to 330 feet in width. Seen as though it's got almost the same diameter as the Statue of Liberty, it has the potential to wreak havoc if it hits the Earth. Its size makes it capable of wiping out an entire metropolis, such as Kansas City on the U.S. state of Missouri, according to Mashable. But just over a week ago, experts reassured people that they were not worried at all about the asteroid actually colliding with our planet. The director of NASA Center for near-Earth object studies, Paul Chodas, explained that the probability of it happening was only 1.2%. We are not worried at all because of this 99% chance it will miss, he said, but it deserves attention. Asteroid hunter David Rankin also told Space.com that people should absolutely not worry about this yet, explaining that the impact probability is still very low. But now NASA has warned that the odds of 2024 YR4 striking the planet have more than doubled. The probability of devastating collision occurring has increased to 2.3%, according to space agencies CNEOS. As it stands, there are no other large asteroids bound for the planet which have a probability of hitting Earth above 1%. So 2024 YR4 is definitely one to watch. The asteroid will make its closest pass to us on 2nd of December 2032. And although the chances of it doing some damage are slim, there is still a chance. Scientists are hoping that they can find out more about this route in the coming months, which will get them a better idea of how big of the risk it is hitting Earth. Dr. Shyam Balaji of King's College London told Daily Mail, as additional observation data is gathered, the probability of impact is expected to decrease. NASA and ESA astronomers are actively refining 2024 YR4's trajectory, and historical trends show that most objects initially flagged as risks eventually become non-threats. But they've got to move fast if they want to observe it, and Dr. Balaji warned that the asteroid will become too faint to observe from Earth after April 2025 and won't be visible again until 2028. He explained it makes it difficult to further refine its trajectory in short term. So let's hope that they're getting a move on it, which is actually pretty scary because I thought they were rehashing the original story, just kind of reiterating the fact that they had found this thing out there. But it's concerning to know that it had doubled the chances of coming in contact with planet Earth. That's one of the things that I hope to never see coming from the sky. I've had nightmares about things like that, and let's just hope that we have planetary defense systems that we're spending black budget money on, right? With that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up UFO and weird news and thank our guest for tonight, Zaysan Saldausky, for being awesome and coming in for hours 1 and 2. Also, we want to thank UFO Tim James for filling in for Drew Banky this weekend with the After Hours Wrap Up. We also want to thank Steve Stockton, Tells Untold Misperson Mysteries, because he just does such great work, and it's a noble cause. We also want to thank each and every one of you and the man that rocks in and out each and every weekend, the man you hear right there, Ron Bubblefoot Thal, as he teaches us to never say never again, because, yes, the phenomenon is real, which means that in that case, anything and everything is possible. So if you love what you saw tonight, you love the show, go ahead and throw your horns up. We also want to thank our viewers and listeners from whenever in the world you're listening from. Thank you for tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we do best. What's that you ask? We own the night. This show is copyrighted SOR Media Ventures Limited, Spaced Out Radio. It has been a pleasure serving you once again as your host. I am Mr. Rob G. This is the After Hours Radio Show. And to all you space travelers out there, this isn't a goodbye nor a farewell. However, as we go off air for the night, you can guarantee that we'll be right back here next week to do it all over again. Much love to you all. Take care. All right. We are clear. We are clear. And thanks for an awesome show, guys. It has been so awesome hanging out with you guys. And let me let you know who Davey Scott has coming in next week. I wrote it down. Dave Scott has Sabrina Scott. Wow, no relation. Maybe relation, no relation. Sabrina Scott is Dave Scott's guest tomorrow night, and she'll be talking tarot and witchcraft. So that should be interesting. Make sure you guys are here for that. And if you've seen the advertisement, we're going to have Jimmy Blue, who does Jimi Hendrix. And he's really awesome. Really awesome dude. We're going to talk aliens and all sorts of things. It's going to be a fun show. So make sure you're here for that next weekend. And yeah, we'll be doing this all over again. Want to thank the super chatters for the night. I know there were a couple at least. Let me see. We had welcome to the show 2 times. Super sticker and saying outstanding guest SOR classic. We hope you liked it. We hope you love it. And we hope you'll be right back here next weekend to enjoy what we bring next time. So outside of that, pleasure talking to you guys tonight. I'm going to go ahead and head up out of here, sail off to the Hilton, and you guys enjoy the rest of your night. We want retribution. Let's shut this thing down. Let's go.
Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with a cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it. Like a disease, bring them to their knees. Take for their disease. Just like a weed, spread into the streets. Time to make them bleed. Cause we just want retribution. Let's go light up the darkness. Make true of an empty promise. Flip cards into weak and harmless. Take to the streets and turn them to a mosh pit. Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.